Hello, and welcome to another episode of Myths and Stories, a Destiny 2 lore podcast. Have a very exciting episode today. This is the Lightfall launch episode. I know there's a lot of chatter online right now about Lightfall and the reception of the story. However, we are going to focus on the campaign and the story that is told and what info we can get out of that. If it's not already apparent, this is your spoiler warning. We will be
Spoilers.
we will be spoiling the entirety of the Lightfall campaign.
Please go play the game first.
Yes. Please play it first. And also, by the nature of this being a kind of off the cusp of gaming marathon episode, this is going to be a more fast and loose. This isn't going to necessarily have a bunch of edits on it, so apologies in advance for talking over each other and that kind of thing. But just so you know what you're in for.
So much gaming over the last 3 days.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Some of that shit was hard, man.
Yes, it was. Zora and I both went through and completed the campaign on the legendary difficulty, which lived up to its name in a few sections, especially.
Absolutely, it did.
Yeah. But so we're going to roll on back to the beginning of the campaign, starting with the very introductory cutscene.
And such a good cutscene.
It is really good, but before the actual battle cutscene, we get a little bit of a recap from Zavala, as a catch up for those that maybe haven't been paying as close attention or dropped out for a little bit and are coming back. Does a good recap of kind of how we got here overall. One thing that sticks out in that recap that was also present in the interactive trailer leading up to Lightfall, Zavala just reaffirms that Savathun betrayed the witness and hid the veil. We don't know what that means beyond that point, but he states it in game that they know Savathun betrayed the witness and hid the veil during the first collapse. So,
which of course brings up a bunch of questions
oh yes,
was the veil in possession of the witness, and that's what he was using to blow shit up and kill shit all over the universe, and she just stole it, was well, we can't do this here in Seoul, so I'm going to hide it? Or was it part of the Traveler, and it was hey, this is the one thing that can stop the witness from attacking and shut everything down, so I'm going to steal it and hide it?
There are a lot of questions. I think we're going to get some allusions to what that some of those answers might be as we go through, but keep those questions in your mind. What we know right now at this point in the campaign, Savathun stole it. So we get this intro cutscene off of the recap where it's starts you right in the middle of a space battle between the pyramid ships and the various forces of the Vanguard. They've got some Guardians flying around in their jump ships. You've got Amanda Holiday, who is flying around as well. Trying to do whatever they can to these pyramids, slow them down, provide support, something. Because we know the pyramids don't really take damage from conventional weapons, but they're at the position where they gotta try.
Gotta do something, at least put up a blockade. And there's even Keidel's got her forces there. Mithrax has tons of Elixni up there too. Mara's got a bunch of Awoken. Corsairs up there. Yeah, it's an all hands on deck. Soul system needs defending, and it's right here at Earth.
Yeah. Now the witness is aboard one of the pyramid ships and can see what is happening, ? He's kind of doing flicks with his hand to direct the ships as to where they should go and what they should focus on. And they're mostly just kind of ignoring everything as they get close to the traveler, and then eventually they do this big pulse that you see in some of the trailers where it knocks out a good amount of the ships that are around them. And the traveler then, after that pulse, the traveler, almost as a reactionary, decides to shoot back. And again,
a fucking beam.
we saw
That
this
shit
a little
was
bit.
awesome.
We saw this a little bit in the trailer as well. But yeah, the traveler kind of gathers energy towards its. The sphere doesn't really have a front, but towards the area closest to the pyramids, and shoots this white beam into the pyramid ship at the head of the fleet where the witness happens to be. And what's really interesting is that this beam, where it hits the pyramid, it appears to deal damage to the pyramid, but also causes white vines with red flowers to grow wherever it touches the pyramid.
Dude, as soon as I saw that, I was like, confirmed everything.
It is very telling, I suppose, for us to, growth, the vines, especially, and flowers, gardener. It makes a lot of sense to correlate those two. Also, I believe they are the same red flowers. I don't know about white vines, but red flowers for sure that you see in like Garden of Salvation.
I think they're the same. Like as far as like the vines, like typically in there we see a lot more green stuff,
Right.
not white. But the white, I'm thinking back to the tree with silver wings, right?
Yeah.
That was an all white tree, and that was where like, and when I think about that, that was where, because that was right above where the pyramid was stationed, right above Io. The last place that the light touched, the last place the traveler touched before heading back to Earth when the collapse started, and it was that connection between the two that the tree of silver wings grew. So I'm curious if those white vines is that like reaction of when light and dark smash into each other.
Could very well be. We know that based on Unveiling, like light and the winnower and the gardener both put energy into creating the universes in their flower game. Perhaps the meeting of those two causes creation of some sort.
That was just so cool. Like
It really
to
was.
see like the full flowers and everything. I was like, dude, the traveler's the gardener. Full stop. Like that all but like confirms it to me. I don't know. Like short of being told he's not the gardener, I'm now operating under the full assumption that he is the gardener.
I am of a very similar mindset that the traveler is the gardener, partially because of what we saw, partially because of all the evidence we've had up till now. Also because they don't exactly have time to introduce another one, like another deity. They have one expansion and 3 seasons. Like I don't think we're gonna see another being come out of it.
You never know, man. There's always the secret guy pulling the strings behind the secret guy that's pulling the strings behind that secret guy that's pulling the strings, right?
Yeah, I mean,
that's how Bond movies works.
It's possible, certainly. But so yeah, we get awesome shot of this hole that's been bored through the pyramid, and we have the witness standing with all these vines and flowers forming around it. And the witness, I think of its own accord, exits from the pyramid through that hole and into this beam. And it doesn't seem particularly disturbed by being in this white beam of whatever it is.
He definitely doesn't care.
He's just kind of chilling there, and Amanda and the Guardians that are in the scene, go to intercept and try and shoot at him, try and damage him in some way, and he just does his little wrist flick, and that's where that scene from the trailer where the ghost and the Guardians inside the ships, and then the ships themselves, all just fall into these like sliced up patterns.
Yeah, it's that like the dissection that like when you see the worms inside Vow Disciple.
Yep.
Like everything just gets like, was it vivisection? Is that right? Is that what I'm thinking of?
I think so.
I think that's the right word.
I think
I'm going to use it because it sounds really cool. But it's that like they all get split into like these perfect like size slices. And
Yep.
yeah, when we first saw the trailer and we saw it happened to the Ghost, I didn't really recognize it or see it um, until that cutscene. Or like I analyzed the trailer a little bit more, but the Guardian inside, the same thing happens to the Guardian
Mm-hmm.
inside, and that Guardian in particular is the Titan from the original three, and the other two Guardians are the Warlock and the Hunter.
Yep.
So the three like OG trailer Guardians, they're dead now. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think they're coming back from getting
Nope.
from that.
Nope. They're toast. And actually, a piece of their ship, one of their ships, ends up hitting Amanda's ship, and it cuts to black. We know, and minor spoilers, I guess. We know from the very first like dialogue of the seasonal content that she survived. Uh,
But if you skip the season and you go to the tower, she's not in the tower, so it makes it seem like she's dead.
yeah, yeah. So we get this scene, and then the beam shuts off. And the reason for that is because all the pyramid ships, or I guess the undamaged ones, have formed this like sun or flower pattern around the traveler, where their points are facing outward around the traveler in a circle. It's a really cool visual.
I'm
But
curious if that's like a suppression field that they put up or something.
I think it's exactly what it is, because you can kind of see like an orange field kind of
Yeah.
pulse from the ships and then cover the traveler, and then the beam like that shuts off the beam. So I think they're literally suppressing the light of the traveler, similar to how Gaul did with his technology, forever
It's
ago.
crazy that it took 8 of them to do it though. Like,
Yeah, right.
light's pretty powerful on its own. Darkness is, I mean, the Witness himself is pretty powerful on its own, but like all their little minions,
Yeah.
maybe need a little helping hand every now and then.
Yeah. It's the light is turned off, and the Witness is now just chilling, just floating there, perfectly fine, and floats his way over to the traveler and attempts to do something to it. We don't really know what they're trying to do at this point. But reaches out, and there's a glow, and like they're trying to interact with the traveler in some way, and they're rebuked. They can't. They're forced away from it, and they even kind of like look at their hand a little bit, like, oh, why didn't that work? But they get a vision as part of this, refusal of part of this rejection, and that vision shows them the location of the veil, which is Neptune. And so the Witness tells Callus, my disciple, you know what needs to be done. Go retrieve the veil. And so Callus's ship peels off away from the pyramids and hyperspaces away, with Osiris in hot pursuit and our Guardian then in pursuit of Osiris.
Yeah. Yeah. I think to me the fact that like the traveler or this interaction kind of shows the Witness where the veil is almost makes me feel like the veil is light connected. But I don't know, like there's parts later in the story that makes you question it.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth a few times as I've gone through the story. I'm leaning more one way than the other, but as we come across those points in the other missions, you can kind of see why we're not quite sure. But no, so this ends the intro cinematic, and now we're into the first mission. We literally climb our way up like a maintenance ladder on the outside of a ship that has entered hyperspeed.
Who allows their maintenance hatches to be opened at hyperspeed? Who does this?
Just depressurize everything.
What the hell? Everything I've learned from Star Trek and Star Wars and Stargate and all these sci-fi stuff, that's not supposed to happen. There's supposed to be safety checks that don't allow that to happen. And our Guardian is just like, meh.
Yeah.
It's fine.
This will be fine.
First of all, the fact that he's just riding the ship in hyperspeed, like just one-handed, like, who the fuck is this guy? What is happening? I know we're god killers and all, but Jesus,
We're physics killers too now.
apparently.
So we enter the ship, which is not Callus's mothership, but one of the other ships that was traveling with it. And Osiris, has landed on the same ship, and over the comms, we know Callus is in pursuit of the artifact called the Veil, and over the comms, Osiris reaches out to us, and Osiris, even in this very first mission, like the very first dialogue I think you get from him after entering, playable space, he says, if the witness establishes a link with the Veil, it'll be the end of the system.
Boom.
So
End of soul. End of destiny.
this line does a couple of things. The first thing it does is establish the stakes, kind of. Like, we already knew that if the witness gets what it wants, like, bad things happen. But the reason this line in particular sticks out to me is Osiris says, if the witness establishes a link with the Veil, it'll be the end of the system. That implies to me that Osiris already knows what the Veil is and how it works enough that he knows what the witness wants to do with it.
Oh, shit.
Which is really weird.
That he knows more than all of us? Is it that weird?
Well, I mean, yes and no. I'm wondering.
I am Osiris. I am equal to none. Cute.
Yeah. The question becomes, like, was this part of Savathun's memory? Where did this information come from that he knows what the witness is trying to do enough to explain it in this way?
The only like 2 or 3 things that I could think of that would kind of give us an idea of what he would know. It could be in the Vanguard archives, which I think could be plausible. But then that means that, like, everyone in the Vanguard knows what the Veil is and where it's been this whole time, and to me that just doesn't seem like that meshes real well.
It doesn't add up.
The other 2 is the Infinite Forest. It could have been something he had found in the Infinite Forest through one of the simulations, but I don't think that that's a possibility either, because the Vex don't know how to simulate paracausal abilities.
Yeah,
like they could simulate an item, but they can't simulate the properties of that item if that item is paracausal, which I'm assuming, since the Veil is that connected to the Traveler and the Witness, that it has some type of paracausality to it.
Well, and Rasputin last season specifically says it is a source of immense paracausal power. So
there you go.
Yeah.
So it's like, so I don't think the Infinite Forest, that leaves us with the one possibility of he has all these, like, questionable memories from Savathun, like stuff that he could, like, while she was in his mind, he was also in her mind. So, like, there could be some type, that's the only area that I could think of that Osiris would have any type of knowledge of this thing. And in typical Osiris fashion, of course, he's not going to share that info with anyone. But that just seems kind of selfish for a lightless guardian now to be as high and mighty as he is. Like, I get it. He's lived for a long time. He's probably, short of Ikora, probably the greatest warlock in all of Vanguard history. I don't know, man. Like, to be that selfish about it seems kind of like a dick move, Osiris. Like, maybe open up, maybe share with us a little.
He is part of him coming to terms with his situation is a big story arc for him in this expansion. So
that is very true.
He starts out very very callous, very angry at a lot of things. I think mostly his own inability to have a direct hand in fixing this,
to be able to do anything. Like,
right.
He has to stand on the sidelines, because I think he knows that knowledge is valuable, and if he loses it, like if he dies, like that knowledge is lost. So and then the only other person they have to question is Savathun, and I doubt they're going to try to get a hold of Imaru and be like, hey, can you come res her so we can talk for a little bit?
Yeah. So that line in particular stuck out to me. So we'll keep that in mind as we're going on. You're aboard this Cabal ship, though. You're fighting your way through. You come across the first of the Shadow Legion, which is Callus's new legion. They're still Cabal. They're very, Cabal-y. Uh, but a slight difference is that some of them have backpacks that have resonance energy. Resonance being the same energy that we see on the caretaker in the Vow raid, the
Yep.
same energy that Rulk uses in the Vow raid. Um, so it seems that resonance is what the witness gifts to their disciples, and then Callus was able to further manufacture items that use it and give it to his legion.
Is that resonance the same stuff that we were thinking of Rulk with the luster?
I think so. Because literally the only time luster has been mentioned is in that Rulk lore book. So
The Shattered Suns one? Yeah.
yeah, so that might just be what Rulk calls resonance.
Okay.
Unsure, but I'm thinking it's two terms for the same thing.
Gotcha.
But so we fight our way through the ship. We have some discussions with Osiris. Nothing of great lore import that we need to dig into. But we do eventually, near the end of the mission, come across a new enemy, a tormentor.
Dude, fuck those guys. I'm putting my foot down right now. Fuck the tormentors, man. Like I could deal with Lucent Hive, right? Like I could deal with a hive that has light powers and using those light powers against me, right? And then going up and crushing its ghost in my hand, like again, a little like oh my god, what have I done type thing. But at the same time, like oh well, maybe they're the bad ghosts. Like whatever, not the point. These tormentors, the name is pretty apt. Like the first time you come across one, it is genuinely terrifying, and like
Yeah.
it smoked me. Like I didn't even have a chance. I was like, "What the fuck just happened?" Like it did. I didn't even have a chance to like set up defenses or anything. It was just like, "Hi, I'm here. Bye. You're dead." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Well, shit. Restarting that."
Yeah, so we see it very briefly about halfway through the mission, and then it kind of disappears, and then it shows up again as the final boss of the mission, where we have to actually fight them to the death. And what's really interesting is the description of them. So when we first were introduced to tormentors in the trailers and on the Vidoc and such, I was thinking, oh, these are, ancient warriors of the disciple, or of the witness, that are now coming into play as his main force arrives. That doesn't seem to be the case.
Yeah, I
Uh,
don't think so.
the description we get of them from Osiris again, so maybe he's guessing and passing it off as fact, but he calls them the fruit of the witness and Callus's alliance, which almost makes it sound like something that is newly created
I think
between
it
the
is.
witness and Callus.
I think it's newly created, and I think they have a tie to something else because every single one of them have a name with it.
Well, not all of them.
Okay, that's true. That's true. Most of them are just like tormentor, but
Most of
like
them
the
are
ones that
just
you fight
tormentor.
as a boss, there's a name attached to them.
There is,
Can I say it?
which
Can I say it? Can I say it?
brings up some other questions. If it's the name that gets introduced later on, no, we gotta
Oh,
wait till that
damn it!
comes up.
Fair enough.
But they're described as a new creation between the witness and Callus, and so we have our first introduction to one, and then we have our really really beautiful space jump between ships. Um, and you see Callus's flagship come in underneath, and Callus is taunting you the whole way, and just like that whole scene was
Another
really really
fantastic
cool.
space scene. Like took. I mean, every time they've done a space scene, it has been the greatest space scene ever until the next one comes out, and then
Yeah.
that's the greatest space. Right? Like Deep Stone Crypt space scene. There, like oh my god, Everyone shut your mics off. I will mute everyone in this party. We're going to listen to the space scene. When we get to the other end of it, then we'll turn all the comms back on. The Seraph station, like, you start doing that stuff, and you see the Traveler below you in the clouds, and you're like, okay, everyone shut the hell up. I'm enjoying this for a minute. Same thing with this scene. Like, everyone else just shut the hell up. This is amazing, and I want to be in this moment type thing. Like, it's every single space scene that they've ever done is the greatest one until the next one comes out, and then that's the greatest one.
Yeah. No, it's pretty awesome. Definitely one of the premier kind of set pieces.
I'm glad they saved that for in game, like, to not
Yes,
have
me
that as
too.
any type of trailers or anything.
Me too. So we hop across the other ship. We fight our way through that ship, where Osiris is now decided that the best thing to do is blow up the engines and then hop in escape pods. We question the wisdom in that course of action, but we do it anyway.
Of course.
In the course of doing that, we come across the actual fight with the Tormentor. And this is an interesting bit about the Tormentors as well that we learn as we fight them. They're using Void Light.
Yeah. And goddamn Void 3.0 suppression. And it
Yes.
sucks. And I hate them.
So I'm not really sure what to make of
I know.
these darkness cabal creations having access to Void
sexy
Light.
boys. Like, what is going on here?
So that's still a bit of a mystery for me.
Could it? Okay, so if okay, follow me down this rabbit hole for a second.
Okay.
Savathun,
Yeah.
was capturing specifically Void Light.
True. In the Savathun song Strike. Yeah.
Yep. And we know that she housed all of it in her throne world. We know that Rulk was in her throne world, but she trapped Rulk there.
Okay. Yeah.
Is there any way that the witness through Rulk's pyramid or through even just going into Savathun's throne world could have gotten access to this stuff, to all that void? Because all that void light is literally like trapped in canopic jars in the main apothecary, in her throne world. That's
a very good point.
Curious, because they only use void.
Mm-hmm.
And the only light that Savathun was able to trap was void light. That's the only connection that I could think of that has any type of, like, either the witness got a hold of it through Rulk, through the pyramid, to like has like a back door there, because we know that every time he talks to everyone, he's got that like shattered glass thing, right? So like we know that he can talk presumably through dimensions, through space and time with it. Like there's no like distance or barrier or anything like them for him to talk to somebody on the other side. So I would think that he could talk to Rulk or something like that. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe Rulk smuggled some out somehow or something. Like, I don't know. Like the only connection to any type of like darkness that I can think of that has light, specifically void energy with it, is the apothecary in Savathun's throne world. And that could be why, like, maybe Callus was able to get in there. I don't, like, we never see any Cabal in the throne world. We only see Scorn and Hive. So it's like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm kind of with you on this. Like, I don't really know what to make of it. Like, why is a darkness thing using void energy? It doesn't quite make sense, but that's the one. All that void light trapped in the apothecary canopic jars is the only thing I can think of that really connects them.
Yeah. Now that's a good point. The Scorn are under the direct control of the witness, presumably.
So I mean, they could have smuggled it out.
Yeah, totally plausible that they could have siphoned stuff out of there. Yeah. No,
okay.
I mean, until something else comes along, I think that's a very, very good theory for it. Yeah.
Yay.
So yeah, we have our fight with this tormentor after they suppress us 1 billion times.
It just let me fight you for 5 seconds, please. Like, don't stop suppressing me.
We are eventually successful though, and we get to the escape pods, which are Cabal drop pods. And
I love that.
we find Osiris there, and I love the little exchange. The ghost is like, "Are you sure this is safe?" And Osiris is like, "Yeah, I'm sure it's fine." As he goes flying off.
Yeah.
Uh, and I also loved we get in a drop pod and launch ourselves because there's no other option really. And I love that when you get out of the drop pod after it's landed on Neomuna, you have squished a Cabal. Like if
Yep.
you look back at it, so
Yep.
we gave them a taste of
Even
their own medicine.
even they get crushed by their own drop pods.
Yep. Now for me at least, they
Physics
paid me
can't
the
save you
favor.
now, buddy.
Yeah, I would say for me at least, they paid me back like tenfold throughout all the other stuff in
Oh yeah.
Neomuna, but
Oh yeah.
felt good to get the one. So we've landed now on Neomuna with Osiris, and we're introduced to the Cloud Striders, Rohan, and Nimbus. And we don't really get to do too much with them at this point. It's just like, hey, they are here, and we're tracking Osiris's signal through the city. We're trying to get to him before a Cabal does, because he's only got one life left. And what ends up, we don't quite get there in time, but in our pursuit of him, we discover this green energy that's just kind of sitting. And Ghost establishes this is a weird energy signature. And we touch it, and lo and behold, we can utilize it. We can channel it. And we get our
humans are so dumb. Hey, I see this weird thing over here. What do you want to do? Touch it.
I'm gonna touch it. Yeah.
Humans are dumb.
Well, in this case, it works out because we get a new super out of it. We get a new element. This is our introduction to Strand, and you get to mess around with it. And they give you a little arena to fight in and play around with. And that was actually really really fun. I liked that little section.
I do like how Strand is how you interact with Strand throughout the entire campaign, where it's like it's kind of fed to you in like these little bits, and then like as you go through, it's like, hey, now you can do this with it. Now you can do this with it. Now you can do this with it. So you can like see it getting more powerful and more powerful as you're going through. I don't remember Stasis being that way when we were getting access to that. For some reason, I remember Stasis being like this, like, yeah, it's here, but there was no like, you never got to see it get more and more powerful throughout the story. You just had it, and then when you got to the end and you use it against Aramis, like that was it. And then you had all the post campaign stuff where it's like, hey, now you unlock your fragments, now you unlock your aspects, now you do all that stuff, which was a hell of a grind. Holy crap! Which luckily Strand, at least on face value, doesn't seem like it's as grindy.
No, well, they give you the aspects by the time you finish the campaign, so it's definitely not as bad. And yeah, I don't remember Stasis having the feeling of more power each time you used it. It was just kind of like you had it and it didn't change between the instances where it popped up. So yeah, I liked that way of making us feel like we were starting to master it more as time went on. But this is our first foray with it. I think you just get the melee ability and maybe the grenade, maybe the grapple grenade.
That's what I thought too.
But no super.
Like as far as the warlock, at least I don't think you have a rift or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't remember. You definitely don't have any
or if
aspects
you do, you
at
don't
this
have the
point.
threadlings or anything.
Yeah,
like
you
that.
don't have any of the extras. You do get to use the super right at the end, but you don't get a ton of time with it. But regardless, we find this energy. We learn, hey, we can channel it. But oh man, do we feel real bad after we get done using it?
Shit hurts.
Worst hangover.
Yeah.
So, and then it gives us a cutscene of the two Cloud Striders, fighting back some Cabal and just one tapping a Tormentor with an explosion. Like, what is that about?
This guy, like, where's my one tap ability?
Right?
Dude, I was putting full heavies into these guys, like full clips of everything I had, supers, Nova bombs, everything, and they were just like, huh, that's cute. I'm gonna kill you now.
So regardless, they end up coming in and kind of saving the day. They help clear the area for Osiris to leave his drop pod. They introduce themselves as Cloud Striders, and the mission ends, and we end up on uh, the is it the Heroes Hall? I think is what
I
it
think so.
was.
Like we end up like outside the front door of it on like
Yeah,
the main tower. Yeah.
yeah. So you get some discussion with Osiris and Nimbus and Rohan at this point, just kind of explaining that they are Cloud Striders, that they are the defenders of Neomuna, and something that I thought was really interesting. Their impression of Guardians is Earth's warlords.
Yeah.
Uh, like they have not.
They've been watching. They've
Well, kind
they've been
of.
paying attention, it feels like.
Again, kind of. I got the feeling that they knew of Guardians, but they did not know anything recent of Guardians. Like their stories, their myths were about the warlords of Earth that were these immortal, kind of awful warring people. And so I don't think they've updated their info
I
about
don't
Earth
think they have
since the
either.
Dark
Like maybe
Ages.
maybe some of their well, so I'm thinking back to, oh my god, I just made a connection. Okay. Nope, I've got to save that for later because we haven't talked about that yet. So yeah, I think you're right because I maybe they saw they were keeping tabs on Earth because I mean that's one thing that I don't is it stated early on? It the Neomunians are humans. They're
Yes.
from Earth. Like
Yes. Originally.
that's
Yep.
that's a thing. So it's like I think I feel like they were keeping track of Earth, and then like when the collapse actually happens and everything, and then the Guardians get released, and or the Guardians, the Ghosts all get released, and then all the Warlords get rezzed, or all the Risen, and then the Warlords happen. They're like, well, shit, that place sucks. I'm not going over there. That's nope, don't like that. And so then they're like, just ignore it now. Like just hide away. Don't even worry about what's going on over there because that place sucks.
Yeah, and we will get more in depth into what the timeline and kind of who made those decisions when we cover a history of Neomuna, which we're thinking will be a separate episode. But there is more in depth detail about that. Uh, but for now, yeah, like yeah, they don't have knowledge of what Guardians are or the Vanguard or the city or any of that really. They just knew us from the Dark Ages and were rightfully kind of scared of the warlords coming and laying waste to Neomuna at some point.
Yeah.
And so Rohan says like we thought when we met Lightbearers we would be fighting against them, not with them, which is kind of an interesting notion.
They definitely I from the again looking at the warlord side of it saw us as a threat.
Yes. Yeah. But so to kind of cruise through the missions a little bit here because we're gonna run long already, but trying to keep it under like 4 hours. Uh,
Good
the
luck.
I know. A couple things during this mission. So we are sent to uh essentially go secure the veil. Like that Osiris is very impatient. He's like, we need to get to the veil before Callus does. Go do it. And so we're on our way and trying to kind of just go in guns blazing, not much of a plan or anything. And we find that the ghost mentions that they've been feeling off since they've arrived on Neomuna. This is when the ghost is trying to like hack a barrier to open up the way for us. And they mentioned they've been feeling off since they got here. And Nimbus is kind of like, well, I can do it for you. I get it's really complex system. And Ghost is like, screw you. I know what I'm doing. But it was a little one-off line that we want to remember because it comes into play later. We learn as we go through after we break through the shield and we go through this area that is held by the Cabal that Callus has created paracausal disruptors. that essentially turn off our ability to use our supers. Our
Thank God it
other
doesn't shut our jump and shit off.
yes, it's not a full
Goddamn
suppression.
suppressors. It's horseshit is what it is.
Yeah, not a full suppression, but definitely annoying to not have your super. And it's the totem, which it is a totem. Um, it looks very much like some of the architecture in Rulk's pyramid with the little spires and things.
Yep.
And it was just remember the look of the totem. These kind of like diamond shape with little tridents coming off and whatnot. Because we see that architecture again in something else. But these things are suppressors. We have nothing to combat them. They're immune if you try and do anything to them.
Your stupid Arc Souls will shoot them over everything else.
The Cabal come in. You have to fight them without the use of your super. You're successful in doing so. And then we get a little bit of a scene where our guardian is overlooking kind of the facility where the veil is stored, I guess, is protected. And our ghost is saying like, oh, I don't feel right. And as we get close to the veil, he says it's much worse than before. And right after he says that, this little shattered glass effect happens in the air, and it's Callus's face, and the witness takes over our ghost and delivers a message to Callus through that little shattered glass portal.
And isn't that fucking crazy? Like when that happened, I'm like, dude, what the hell? Like we know we've seen the witness take over our ghost before. That's not anything new. That happened when we first came across the pyramid in Shadowkeep.
Yep.
Like so him taking over, but then the fact that he like communicates the way that he's been communicating with everything, the whole shattered glass, and he's just like, hey, got a message for you, buddy, and like, hey, I was using that line. Maybe get off this comms, you ass.
Now, something that's really interesting about this, the only other times that our ghost has been possessed, for lack of a better term, has been in or very near pyramid ships.
Yep.
Near sources of witnesses' influence, sources of dark. And now it's happening immediately after the ghost and the guardian specifically say, like, being near the veil is making the ghost feel worse than it has before.
See, and that's what makes me think the veil is tied to darkness now. Like,
yeah,
they're close enough to it, and now there's an interaction here. Now he's able to take it over kind of freely at will.
Yeah,
like, I mean, now I'm kind of leaning the other way. Like at first, like, oh, the veil, it's got to be tied to the light. Now it's, fuck, I don't know, man. Maybe there's a little darkness there.
I would say we got a point on either side now. We got a point for light and a point for dark. But so, the witness has this discussion.
We're going to keep tally now, and that's by the end of it, whoever wins, like, okay, it's darkness then, or it's light then. I guess that's what it is.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so it has a discussion with Callus. Callus essentially says, we have taken over the facility surrounding the veil, but we have not been able to breach the defenses to get into the veil vault itself yet.
Thank God.
Yeah. And so the witness, through our ghost, still says, oh, we know that the light bearer is on Neomuna and opposing you. And they tell Callus to link the radial mast and destroy the veil.
Ooh.
Now, two things here. The first one, which I have less answers for, is I find it, and again, if it's something of dark, if it's something that was stolen that the witness needs, why does he want to destroy the veil?
Point light.
What?
No, that's one point for light now.
Yeah. Two light, one dark.
2 to 1 now.
The other thing that we maybe have some more answers on is the radial mast. Now, that's a very strange term, very strange name, and a mast of anything that isn't a ship. But we have seen a similarly named gift mast that was referred to as a relic of the light in the Books of Sorrow.
So point both then, I guess. I don't, because the mast itself was referred to as the light, but now he's got it as darkness. Is that half point each? I don't.
Well, if the mast is separate from the veil, I think the
Okay,
mast
then.
is purely being used as a tool to access and link to the veil in some capacity.
Okay.
Um,
I'm still getting a half point to each.
okay. I will rely on you to keep track of those. But so real briefly, if we look back at Books of Sorrow, this is the chapter titled "The Gift Mast." I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it is described by Oryx as the Gift Mast. It towers above this star system like a monument to treason. It beams with silver light. It sings a radio lullaby made of soothing lies. In its light live the harmony, and they are now our prey. Skipping ahead a little bit.
He even says radial there, like.
Yeah. Skipping ahead a little bit, eventually they overcome the harmony and acquire the gift mast. Oryx says, Shivu-Arath kills the wishful bishops, and Savathun achieves some secret purpose, and Oryx's court tears down the gift mast. The harmony people wail in terror. Come, saith Oryx, eat of the gift mast, for I am a generous god. Of its pieces I claim only 2 out of every 5. The mast is full of the light of the traveler. It is full of the marrow taste of sky. All who eat of it are filled with the ecstatic certainty that they serve a greater and necessary purpose. So,
okay, another half point to each. Then I don't know. I think I'm redacting my half point because, like, if he's saying like, now again, he's talking about specifically the gift mast,
the mast,
and
yes,
the mast, right? The gift mast. Here in that specific one, and the thing that Callus and the Witness have is the radial mast. I feel like they're the same thing. I don't have anything to point to it other than they're just called the same thing and they deal with paracausality. But it would be weird that this gift mass is of the light and radiates with light from the traveler, and the radial mast is going to the veil to either suppress or destroy the veil. I would think that it would have to be like what we talked about with our light and dark stuff. It's got to be equal and opposite. Mm-hmm. So if it is of the light, then the veil would have to be of the dark. So now we've got 1 point dark. So 2 and 2 now.
So yeah, I'm of the same opinion. I think the radial mast is either a piece of the original gift mast, or the gift mast was used as a blueprint for making their own artifact of the
like
same,
reverse engineering it,
right?
And having like the equal and opposite. Yeah, no, I like that idea too.
So but regardless, I think there is a tie between the two. I think the gift mast facilitated the radial mast being around one way or another.
Which then that would make the radial mast darkness, and so for it to suppress the veil, it has to be equal and opposite. So that means the veil would have to be made of light. So point light. God damn it!
So
this isn't helping.
No, it's not, but it's fun. So the mission ends here with our ghost essentially saying that, like, we shouldn't be here. We can't. There's no way for us to breach Callus's defense and get to the veil. Like, we've lost the veil, but at least Callus hasn't cracked the shell on it yet. Hasn't gotten into the vault yet. So now we enter mission 3, where it has been decided, okay, if Callus has the veil and we know he's going to use this radial mast to access it, then let's go take care of the radial mast and remove that as a option for him. And again, this is very Osiris is just go, go, go. We don't have time to worry about, fine details. The Guardian has survived unexpected situations before. Let's just get at it. And so we fight our way through Callus's ship, which is beached along the side of the city of Neomuna. Um, and we fight our way through, and we get to through the various uses of Strand, as it appears here and there, and some grav lifts. We make our way through the ship.
Those were pretty cool.
They were pretty fun. We make our way through the ship, and here the ghost specifically says that the radial mast is a large source of light energy.
So then the veil has to be of the darkness. Point darkness!
So without a doubt, radial mast is of light energy, which suggests even more strongly that maybe it's a piece of the original gift mast.
Rather than like a reverse engineer blueprint type thing. It is an actual piece of it. Yeah, I think you're right on the nose with that one. The more and more evidence that's shown that it is strong with light energy. It's we know that the radio mast was torn down and divided up. So like there's no reason to believe that this isn't part of the original mast. We know the mast was effing huge if it was watching over an entire galaxy.
Yes.
So yeah, like it, yeah. And then to me that means like the little guys, like the little suppressors, are even like further breakdown points of that same mast.
Now, what's interesting, I don't know if the little suppressors are copies of the mast, or so to back up a second. When we get to the room where the radial mast is, it looks like a giant version of one of those little suppressor totems.
Right.
Now what I'm wondering is, are those little totems modeled after the mast, or has the mast been put in a bigger version of a suppressing totem so that they can better channel its light energy? So, to try and keep it contained, kind of thing.
Like an amplifier.
Yeah, just because the Witness and Callus have access to and wield darkness doesn't mean they can't use technology like the splicers do.
Like the gauntlets, yeah.
Right, to use light in some fashion. And so
maybe.
I think it's housed in one of those big suppressors.
Because they're not even actually truly like. I mean, the Witness probably, I feel like obviously is channeling darkness, but like Callus, I feel like he's still like using it, right? Like he still needs some type of thing to use. I don't think he's like darkness imbued.
Hard to say. I think you could argue either way from a few points later on, but
I mean, the bathing pool does make it seem like he's been like bathed
reborn
in darkness time. Yeah, like so he could absolutely be. Okay, well, maybe not then.
Yeah,
don't know.
So we find this radial mast. We attempt to destroy it. It's not damageable, just like the little totems elsewhere. And eventually we're getting overrun with Cabal, Shadow Legion, and some Shadow Legion that we can't damage at all. They have a shield that we can't touch with our current abilities. And all seems like it's, not going very well. And then we get a random data stream of a set of coordinates inside the ship that's essentially go stand here. And so we go stand there, and
humans are dumb. Hey, go do this. Who said that? Don't worry about it. Okay. What?
Well, again, it works to our favor because we go stand there, and the cavalry comes to our aid in the form of Keitel and some of Keitel's ships. That
this is the scene that takes place in that big arena thing, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I did like that arena. That was kind of like the first inclination of like, okay, the Legend campaign is like, if the tormentors weren't telling you, hey, this campaign is going to be a little hard on Legend, like that arena was like, ah, shit, like there are a fuck ton of stuff here, and there's Taken here.
Yep, you have Taken alongside the Shadow Legion.
Yeah,
the Witness presumably has complete control of Taken, since that power came from them originally to get to Oryx. So yeah, things are not looking good. Keitel comes in, blasts her way in to give us an exit point, and you hop on your Sparrow and you sprint. You try and
Haul balls.
get out of there.
Do not try to stop and res your teammates. Just make it to the end.
Yes, yes.
Found that out the hard way.
And upon successfully escaping, Osiris is not terribly happy to learn that you have now not only failed to secure the veil, but you've also failed to destroy the mast. And he's like in panic meltdown mode.
Oh yeah.
He's like, we can't just do nothing. We don't have time to try and strategize. We need to fix this, and we need to fix it now.
He's like, get back in there and kill shit, and you're just like, maybe take a breather for a second.
So we find ourselves back at the Heroes Hall. We have some very tense discussions with Osiris where he's on like a hollow call with Saint, and he's even kind of yelling at Saint like, we don't have time. Very much an allegory not only for, yes, things are dire, but also like Osiris doesn't have infinite time anymore, and he's
I didn't even
having problems with that.
That's absolutely a thing now. Like, I'm still like, I don't know. I'm still like stuck on that thought of like a lightless Osiris. Like, there will come a point where Osiris will die.
Yeah.
And Saint will be left alone. Like, I don't. It's still like this like moment. Like, why? Yeah.
No, I know. It'll be the exact opposite of the situation Osiris is in when Saint went missing.
Yep.
But
no way to bring him back. Like,
yeah.
Except through darkness. No, darkness doesn't res. Does darkness res?
I mean, darkness healed Rolk, so.
Oh shit! With Luster.
Yeah.
Shit.
Well, all that aside, Osiris, after calming down a little bit, says, I'm going to study this strand ability. I feel like that's something we can use to our advantage, but we don't understand it yet. I'm going to do that while you take on the next thing you need to do. The next thing we need to do ends up being securing the Cloud Arc, which I believe is first referenced in this mission 4.
Yep.
Nimbus and Rohan tell us that the Cloud Arc is very important to Neomuna. It is the entire infrastructure of Neomuna. All of the security systems, the power for the city, and most importantly, the for lack of a better term, life support systems of the Neomunian citizens are all reliant on the Cloud Arc.
And that life support thing is one thing I wanted to touch on too. When you first get to Neomuna, there's all these little white lights everywhere, and in typical Destiny fashion, was looking at them and go, "Oh, hey, these are collectibles that we're gonna have to get and put them in place." You get closer to them, they turn into the outline of a human.
Yes,
they're people. All those lights that you see all over the place, those are the Neomunians.
Yep,
they all live digitally. Like, I guess like obviously Matrix is like the first like idea that comes to mind of like they all just exist digitally in there is no physical version of them, which first off brings out a lot of questions like how the hell do they get bodies for Cloud Striders? But I guess they've got the Quicksilver, so they just manufacture a body. That's maybe why it only lasts for 10 years. I don't know.
Not quite. There are answers to those questions, and technically this dives a little more into history, but I think it's important because of those types of questions to talk about now to understand what is actually happening.
Okay.
So
Cloud Arc is important.
The Cloud Arc is important. You can think of the Cloud Arc as the internet. Okay. It is a storage repository for data, and it connects and powers everything within the city.
Okay. So power distribution and
data.
Data. Okay, yeah. Gotcha.
the Cloud Arc is powered from the Veil.
Okay.
So the the 3-prong plug from the Cloud Arc just plugs directly into the Veil.
God damn it.
That's what keeps it going.
I like that analogy
Yeah.
of like somebody trips over this and the whole city just turns off. And they're like, shit, plug it in, hurry,
Quick.
we're losing data.
Yeah, we have UPCs. It's okay.
Oh,
Or
God damn it.
UPSs.
God damn it.
So there's a connection between the Cloud Arc and the Veil is the
Okay.
main point, and the Veil powers the Cloud Arc. Now, in addition to being internet and infrastructure, it also houses I guess the best correlation is the Matrix. So
like the consciousness of every single Neomunian.
yes, but they do have organic bodies.
Okay.
The Neomunians were not permanently uploaded into the Cloud Arc until fairly recently.
Okay.
Probably, if I were to guess, I would say somewhere around 10 to 20 years ago. We don't have an exact timeline, but what the essentially what happened, and again, we'll explore this more in depth in our Neomunian history episode that we'll probably be making. The Neomunians knew that the pyramids were going to come back, and so they formulated a plan that they just called like Project Lockdown, and it was before the pyramids get here, we're going to build all of the infrastructure so that our physical biological bodies can be put into essentially cryopods. And while our bodies are in these cryopods, our minds are going to be linked into the Cloud Arc, and we can still continue to think and live digitally.
So yeah, Matrix is probably the closest. There's an anime that I'm thinking of. I think it's called like Stranger in Paradise or something like that. That has kind of a similar thing. Like everyone has an organic body, but like their mind just they're digitally uploaded to the cloud, and then like the cloud is just like a satellite, almost like the orbital station that just sits in orbit of Earth. But then there are also humans on the planet Earth that they either didn't have enough money or didn't care to be part of this like linked consciousness, because then like it brings up the idea of like there are gods over the system, and because your mind is digitally linked to that system, they basically control your every action and everything, and if they don't like what you're doing, they'll just kick you out of paradise. Like sucks to suck, bro.
Yeah.
So it to me it has that kind of vibe of like the like but more of the Matrix style rather than the we'll just kick you out, because it doesn't seem like there's any type of like godlike consciousness taking over or keeping track of all the Cloud Striders or Neomunians. They all very much seem to be doing this. They're very maybe diplomatic, democratic. I don't know. Like they're very cohabitationist. They all everyone seems to have like the same idea and the same goal of like, hey, this is how we continue to survive.
Yeah, they seem very collaborative and cooperative, and yeah. So without getting too far into that subject, because it's a very deep hole to dive into.
That's next episode.
The Neomunians do have physical organic bodies. They're all in cryo, but they're still living by having their minds in the Cloud Arc, which can then interface with the real city via those digital avatars that we see around.
Gotcha.
So, with all of that now, the Cloud Arc is under attack. The defenses around the Cloud Arc have been shut down, which is bad, because if the Cloud Arc goes, so do all of the minds of the people in it. It's not exactly clear what would happen, but it seems like they would just be brain dead. Like it wouldn't pop them out of the simulation. It would just, their mind would be
like
gone.
Sever the link type thing.
Right.
They're like Matrix style, body can't live without a mind.
Yeah. So bad news if the Cloud Arc goes down. or is destroyed or corrupted in some way. So we are racing to come to the defense of the Cloud Ark. In this mission, as we're going through, we find some strand nodes to allow us to traverse and use strand a little more. And the ghost in a dialogue, when you find one of those strand nodes, confirms that the strand nodes are coming from the veil.
Well, shit.
So
darkness then?
That seems pretty far in the darkness category.
I mean, this is starting to lean more and more towards if the gift mast, if he's saying the gift mast is of light, and now he's saying the strand is coming from the veil and strand is of the dark.
Yep.
This is getting pretty definitive. This is kind of like erasing points from the light side of it and just giving those points to the dark side. Like, maybe the veil is of the dark.
Say I am of, and I think we're far enough to make the statement. I am of the opinion that the veil is of the dark.
I mean, at this point, like, this is pretty definitively of the dark. Like, yeah.
So
when it's important too, the attackers of the network and the Cloud Ark is Vex, because of course it is
Vex and Cabal. So
it is both. Okay, for some reason I remember it only being the Vex.
So what is happening is Callus understands that there is a link between the Cloud Ark and the Veiled defenses, and so he's attacking the Cloud Ark to attempt to lower the defenses of the Veil's vault, so he can access it.
Okay, yeah.
The Vex are taking advantage of that because the Vex have always wanted access to the Cloud Ark because it's a giant, it's a giant network that is powered by a paracausal battery. They want that.
What better way to study it? Yeah. That'd be the ultimate study tool, right? Like, yeah, no, So checks out.
So the Vex are trying to take advantage of this and gain access to the Cloud Ark themselves and tie it to their Vex network.
That's bad.
Yes, that's bad. We are successful in rebuking their efforts. And
maybe we can just ride a ship through hyperspace. We're pretty successful.
Right. Yeah. So that kind of ends out the main details of that mission that we're going to touch on. That brings us to mission 5, but also, before that, we want to discuss a cutscene that happened in the previous missions. So specifically, this is a cutscene that we get a couple of views of this room that the newly anointed Callus is sitting in. It's kind of his throne room, and he is flanked on either side by tormentors. And the room itself is very Callous. It's very gaudy. It's a lot of gold everywhere for the sake of gold and opulence and blah, blah, blah. But the things we want to focus on are leading up to his throne are 6 pedestals, 3 on either side, that flank the walkway. And on each pedestal is a thing.
I'm so excited about this. Like I like, you have no idea. I'm like, yes.
Now, we never get a great shot of all of them, but we do get a couple shots of some of them. And although I don't have any, I can't point definitively to any of these 6 items, and they are all slightly different, and go, that is this, and that is this. There we can draw some theories around these items.
One of them looks super familiar.
So the first item that we see, actually the only one that we see Callus directly interact with, is like this gold and purple rock that he picks up, and he transforms it into the chalice that he's walking
Literally
around
just wheels
with.
it into. That he keeps looking in the whole time. He keeps looking in this chalice like as if it's empty. Like, is that, to me, that's like a metaphor for his life.
I think so. I think that's exactly what it is. It's a metaphor, and It's a little later cutscene, but the witness says, you have no purpose. Your fear keeps you from purpose, and at which he throws the chalice.
Yep.
I think the chalice, it's Callus. He's gold and shiny, but empty on the
Yep.
inside.
Yep. I that analogy was kind of like kicks you right in the face, and you're just
Yeah.
like, huh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So that one is probably the least interesting of the 6 items.
Presumably, that is just that is just the chalice. Like it was just in some like suspended state or something like that he just picks up and just that's what I feel like that was.
Either that,
As far as like
or
what an artifact would be.
yeah, either that or it was some combination. Like it may very well have been some combination of like his, like the purple ore from the
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Leviathan
yeah.
mixed with some of this gold that's, or resonant energy, which also has a gold hue to it.
Yep.
And like that's how he's able to manipulate it, because he has access to resonant, manipulation now.
It's almost like a test of power type thing. Like he picks up the first thing he sees and like, can I do something with this? And then
Yeah.
that's what it does. Yeah.
So that aside, the other 5 items, we're going to talk about the one that I think we are the most excited to talk about first.
Yes, we are.
So one of those items, and there's one shot that you get that's really good of it, is as you're facing Callus's throne. It is along the right-hand side. It is the second item, the middle pillar. And it looks an awful lot like a fossil or bone of some sort, and it shares a lot of properties with some of the fossils we saw back on Io.
That like shell looking, like the
Yeah.
snail shell spiral looking thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we know from the collector's edition of Lightfall, from the books there, that Callus was influenced by an Ahamkara bone that he made wishes on to become emperor and dispose of the Pretoria and to have a daughter. And in very Ahamkara fashion, it was all monkey paw wishes. But we have that looks awfully similar to stuff we've seen on Io, and it looks, like I said, very much like it could be bone or petrified.
To me, I was going to say that it looks like a calcified or petrified heart.
Yeah.
It looks to me. It looks like it has the chambers. Like it looks like it's got the valves or the main arteries up coming out of the top of it. Like it looks like he's got an Ahamkara heart that's been calcified.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I was like, oh, like I zoned in on that. Like when I first saw it in that cutscene, I was just like, is he still carrying around this heart? Is he still making wishes? Like, is he still empty inside? Is it now feeding off of him? Like what the hell, bro? Like I zoomed in on this artifact and was like, I feel like this is it. I feel like this is an Ahamkara bone, and he's still making wishes on it.
Very possible. And if that is the case, does the witness know what it is?
Right.
And
does he have access to it? Can he make wishes? Is he doing bullshit too?
I have to feel like the witness may be above the desire in the way that Ahamkara feed, but maybe not.
I don't know. He does have a desire.
Well, but remember, for Mara, it wasn't that she didn't have a desire. It was that she so strongly believed that what she wanted was going to happen, that there wasn't a desire to make it
reality.
Happen.
Therefore, there was nothing to feed on because there was no thing to will into reality.
And
I see what you're saying.
I feel like he might fall into that same boat.
I think you're right. Like he's as arrogant and I mean, throughout these cutscenes that we see of him, he's pretty goddamn powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, he might be above that.
So, still up for debate whether that's Ahamkara in nature or not. I think it's really cool to think that it is. And it makes a lot of sense considering they very specifically mentioned a Nahum bone in the collector's edition book. So that was neat. The other artifacts on the other pedestals, I'm really not sure what to make of them.
There's like the two on that same side they look very similar to the whatever he picked up and turned into the chalice. Like they're this like
Yeah,
blobby, moldy, shifting,
they're just
liquidy looking thing.
yeah,
Like
they're
it's
just kind of like blobs. I mean,
yeah,
we don't get a good look at them, but they're very nondescript blobs of something.
yep,
Now the other side is a little more interesting. So, the facing his throne, the left hand side, the first column is where he picked up the chalice from. But we get a really good view of the second and third column, and the second column has what almost looks like a silvery cocoon.
yeah.
Like it's wrapped up in and now this is my theory. It's wrapped up in feathers or feather-like structures, and perhaps this is a seed of silver wings.
That's honestly that's my thought. Like I have two ideas on it. The Seed of Silver Wings just seems to make sense there. Like this is something that where light and darkness have touched, and this is the fruit of that. This is the creation. Like it's got to be, and only because of like later on in missions that.
Yes, that too.
Um, the other idea I had was like maybe it's strand, like maybe it's because each one of those strand orbs that you see kind of has that like wrapping where it's like wrapping in on itself, and like
True.
maybe it could be strand, but I feel like these are physical items. I don't feel like
Yeah.
anything on these pedestals are any type of like forces or anything like that. I feel like they are physical items that actually exist in this world. So to me, the Seed of Silver Wings, I think I'm like a 95% on that one. Like
Yeah.
I feel like that's pretty close.
Yeah, I don't think strand makes sense. It's not the right color for it, and
Right.
as we discover, Callus is like disruptors. It's paracausal disruptors because they do disable our light subclasses and our stasis subclass
Yep.
super. So both light and dark, but not strand. So if he literally had it setting on a platform, why wouldn't he have known?
Why wouldn't he have incorporated that into
program
the
that in?
software? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Unless he's just a lazy programmer, and we know there are lazy programmers that are just like, it's strand. Nobody even has access to that. It's fine. It's whatever. And then they find the one back door, and they're like, shit,
Oh,
we got to
man.
program this in now. Like, close these ports. Put this up in the fire. It's too late. They're in. Suck. Damn it. Yep.
So the final artifact on that side, it looks very distinct, but I don't necessarily know what it is. It is a kind of diamond shaped,
Like an 8-sided dice.
like a DA or like a plumb bob from The
Yep.
Sims.
Yep.
But it's like blue and fractal kind of in
To me, that
its
says
appearance.
Vex.
Right, that would be where I'd go to as well, but I don't know.
My first thought was like those confluxes that you shoot to like open doors and vow and stuff like that. But the more and more I look at it, it looks like those Vex confluxes that you shoot to like disable Vex shields.
Yeah. But it doesn't look exactly like one. Like it's
Right.
similar, but it's different enough to go like, is it? And
What is it?
yeah. So it's kind of a mystery item for the time being, but it is very
That'd
distinct.
be neat if he had something of the Vex, like because and this is kind of a theory that I think you and I have talked about before. Like the Vex, we think of the Vex as the final shape. Like they are the most idealistic thing that would be like reduce everything down to where it is just Vex. Like then the Vex survive. So like for the Witness to have part of that and to want to achieve the final shape, I don't think would be out of the realm of possibility. But again, like what you said, like it's not exactly like those confluxes that the Vex have, but it's really, really close. Like really close.
So with that information in mind, we now enter mission number 5. And this one starts with a little cutscene between Osiris and Rohan. And I think the dialogue from Osiris in this cutscene can be can be thought of in a couple different ways. So Osiris says, as he's kind of staring into the puka pond, he says out loud, "What is this attraction?" And then he tries to call for Sagira to run scans, and Sagira's not there. Uh, and then Rohan comes in and says, was I interrupting something? And Osiris says, no, I was just pondering the veil's effect on Ghost. Now,
Ooh.
here's a connection. I didn't really put those two sentences together, but if Osiris is saying, what is this attraction? And then I'm pondering what the veil's effect on ghosts is he insinuating that ghosts are being drawn to the veil in some way?
Opposites attract.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's true, and we're thinking that the veil is darkness, if we're pretty definitive now that the veil is of the darkness, what better thing to attract it to than its opposite, the light?
Well, and in the pyramid ship,
the conduits of the light are the ghosts. Like that's
and in the pyramid ship on the moon, where this first happens to our ghost, our guardian is literally picked up and pulled into the ship.
Yep, sucked into the ship. Yep, we don't even get a choice. So yeah, I maybe this is another point darkness. Like this is.
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily a point one way or the other. Although, like we said, I think the veil is clearly in the dark column.
It's very much. It's 70-30.
Yeah, but it is odd, even if it is in the dark column, like that there is this like magneticism to ghosts and the veil. Like why? And that's kind of what
to him? Why is it drawing it to it?
Yeah, that's what Osiris himself is pondering. Like, what is this? Why is this happening? But before we can get any kind of answer on that, his and Rohan's discussion is interrupted by the view of Callus's ship, now flying, or one of his like threshers, now flying the radial mast, which is in a harness below the ship, to the facility that houses the Veil's vault.
They're kicking indoors. They're like, let's go.
Yeah.
Maybe Osiris wasn't so wrong, and then like, we don't have time for this, because guess what? You don't have time for this.
Yep. So Callus is taking if he can't access the veil, he's just going to bring the mast to it and do it that way. We fight our way through the facility that kind of houses. We don't get to the Veil Vault, but we fight our way to where the mast has been installed in the facility, presumably above where the veil is, to punch down into it somehow. And we're fighting off their forces, and Osiris has decided that is convinced that we should be able to control Strand well enough, he thinks, to use it against this suppressor technology that has been utilized around the veil. So we fight our way through alongside Rohan. Nimbus has been pinned down elsewhere and is unable to join us. Rohan literally rides a hole through one of the walls.
Yeah.
And to give us an entry point, and we follow along until we come upon the radial mast again. I'm going to be honest, I wasn't entirely sure what was happening here, but I think upon rewatching that I have a better idea of the order of events. So the radial mast is open, kind of like you can see inside of the containment, and Rohan rides into that opening, and I think he's literally using his body as a barrier to prevent the mast from like activating. Like he's preventing the switch from fully closing all the way.
Well, because I think it's even more than that. I think he physically closes it to stop it from coming out.
That could be.
Because like during the fight, it's closed.
That's true. It is
And so
closed.
I think he physically closes it in on himself, like cages himself inside, and is holding it shut to keep whatever's inside from getting out and accessing everything outside, while we try to defend the thing and fend off forces and stuff.
Gotcha. I like that interpretation. It makes a little more sense than him trying to hold it open. I
Because like to me, like if it's a containment thing and it's like I think of the outside shell as like a container, and I think the gift mask is the trident looking thing inside of
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
That's my interpretation of like the gift mask. Because again, thinking of or the radial mask. See, now I think that's interchangeable. I think they are the same thing, because
Yeah.
I'm thinking of this giant thing that's been fractured into millions of pieces, and it is just it's like a shard of the traveler, right? Like it's just a piece of this gift mask, and so they need some way to house it and carry it around and contain it and all that stuff. So that way, presumably, if it is of the light, it doesn't suppress them. Like
Yeah. Right.
that's like the witness is of the darkness. He is the darkness. If he's just walking around with a piece of the gift mask in his hand, what the fuck does that do to him? Does it just
Yeah.
shut his hand off? Like, so I think that outside section of it is like some type of protective container to kind of keep it contained within, so that way it doesn't harm anyone of the darkness, and they can freely move it about and deploy it and stuff and pop it open and do things with that. So yeah, to me that just kind of makes sense. And then, like I said, having Rohan, he, like you said, he flies into the center of it and is like, okay, do your thing, and whoop, shuts it, and is
Yep.
like, I'm gonna just hold this shut while you're fighting stuff off. Please do something.
Yeah. Now I like that interpretation better than it just like almost practically squishes him for a little bit and then he forces it open later on.
Yep.
Now that I'm going with that headcanon now.
Alrighty.
But so
Yay, I did one.
yeah, we fight off the forces that are come to try and keep us out away from this. And we use Strand to do it, and we're successful. And then at that
Blow up a
crucial
tank
moment,
with Strand. It's awesome.
yeah. But then when it comes to that crucial moment, and Rohan, has the mask opened, and the weak point is available, and he says, "Okay, now, do your thing, shoot it with your new ability." We can't. We don't have access to it anymore. Our
We
guardian
get
is
hungover.
in
Super
hangover
hungover,
mode.
super fast.
Yeah. And obviously Rohan can't sit there and hold on to this thing and wait for us to do whatever we need to do to regather ourselves. And again, if the mast harms the veil, then the power for Niamuna shuts off and all of the citizens are dead. So Rohan decides that his best bet is to end this now definitively by essentially self-destructing.
Rohan, no! There's gotta be a better way!
So Rohan sacrifices himself, blows up with the mast. He is
Which is
successful
the
in
first time
destroying
that's
the
ever
mast.
happened to a Cloud Strider.
Yes.
Cloud Striders have always lived out their little 10-year lifespan. This is the first time that a Cloud Strider has ended it prematurely.
Yeah. And we learned that after the fact from Nimbus, who says that they always reach their expiration date. No one's ever gone early. So Rohan succeeds in destroying now I'm doing it, the radial mast.
It's the same thing, man.
It's the same thing. Succeeds
Winnower,
in that.
darkness, gardener, wet light, sky. It's all the same thing.
And now the veil is safe for the time being. We get
Hopefully they don't have more shards of this gift mask just laying around.
Now, before we talk about the scene that comes at the end of that, the room this is in has some really interesting artwork.
Yeah. I
And
love this mural that's up in this room.
It's really, there's so much going on with this mural. And now presumably I guess the big question is, this mural, I assume, is Neomunian
That's what I think.
because it's in a Neomunian facility that
Right.
it's takes place. Uh, and I don't know exactly what it's describing. There are bits and pieces I can get here and there. So at the top of the mural is 5 figures sitting at a table. I assume
Very Last Supper looking.
very Last Supper looking. I'm assuming that these are to represent the founders of Neomuna,
I like that
um,
idea,
who were the original the first people that landed here.
which we'll talk
Will
about more in the next episode.
you know, um, and then coming off of that, we have kind of this pillar underneath their table that I don't exactly know what to make of. There are
I
bits of it.
personally think it's the veil because it's got
I think at the
it's
bottom for sure.
okay. Sure.
There because there's like a little bit between, and I don't know if that's a physical representation of the cloud arc, perhaps.
Ooh, I do like that
Uh,
idea.
because it looks very reminiscent of the servers that are in the memorial room.
Yep.
Kind of that boxy section there, and then we get into kind of a more circular section that is has two people on either end, kind of like holding it in, which I would assume are representative of the Cloud Striders. There's only ever two at a time,
I'd agree with that.
and they're protecting this in this representation they're protecting the veil, which is kind of this circular uh depiction down near the bottom of the mural.
I like that idea.
Now, interestingly enough, below that even more, you have a group of people that are clothed very similarly to the people at the top of the mural at the table. I assume these are the Neomunians, and I assume this is representative of the Neomunians that are now living in their cryopods because those pods are described as being deep underground.
I like that idea. I all of this is I yes on all of this.
Now, interestingly enough, flanking either side of the Neomunians in this mural at the very bottom is what very much appears to be guardians or depictions of guardians, and that is half skeletal, half person with little ghosts next to them.
Yep. Half light, half dark.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of that to me screams Guardian. So
Yeah.
that portion with those two, I don't know what the fuck that's about. Like, why are these things like? Are they saying that the Guardians are bad? Are they saying that the Guardians should be there with them? I don't have a clue on that. Like that's. I got nothing because there's even more to this mural too. There's two parts of it that are like further back, so it's almost like a 3-part mural. And even on the back parts, there's guardians in those. They're depicted in there too, and like some of them even have like they're holding little hand cannons and like. What are you trying to say, Neomuna? Like,
now,
just tell me.
Yeah, now we know that they still called Lightbearers warlords. That they still had that kind of older, more vicious notion of Lightbearers, and that they assumed that they were going to have to fight them at some point if they ever came across them at Neomuna.
Oh, so this could be like a warning mural, like a prediction.
They could be, the boogeyman for the Neomunian people, are the guardians or the warlords as they called them.
I like that. I do like that idea.
So there is a lot going on with this mural and the others in this room. They all seem to be depictions generally of some variation of kind of what we already talked about. But take a minute when you do that mission and just look at it and
really just
inspect it. Yeah, because there is a ton of really
on the
interesting
side,
info.
There's like a female figure that's like hugging 4 Neomunians. I don't know if that's supposed to be like the 5 original founders as well. I don't know what that's about. There's one that's clearly a picture of the traveler. Like it's
Yep.
very very obvious that there's a traveler. There's like this like metallic teethy skull looking thing, and then opposite, like it's all bathed in light, and then opposite is more of like a cloud strider that's like bathed in dark, which again, if the cloud striders draw their abilities from the arc, and everything is from the arc, and the arc is of darkness, and they're drawn in darkness, like this is kind of leaning even more that way. Like there's so much to this three-piece mural that I just it's why, like how do they,
Yeah.
like what is the imagery that's going on here, and how do I connect it, and what do I make of this?
So yeah, again, when you have the opportunity to do that mission, just stay in that room for a bit and really try and drink it in, because there is
Yeah,
a lot of like hieroglyphics, I guess, for lack of a better
yeah,
term,
yeah. No,
there.
absolutely.
Uh, but so at the end of this mission, mission 5, the witness communicates with Callus via a dream. Um, and essentially Callus is making excuses for why, the mast was destroyed and there's been setbacks. And the witness hits him with the whole, you're weak because you have no purpose, because you're too afraid to seek one out. Uh, and Callus starts to get a little indignant, starts to be like, well, you have all the power of the universe. Why are you, not taking what you want for
Just
yourself?
just Thanos snap this shit, bro.
Yeah. And we don't see it happen, but we see Callus's reaction to, based on the shadow on the ground, the witness changing shape in some
What
way
what the
and
fuck does he show him?
getting
Like,
much larger.
yeah,
And
and
Callus is
it's
immediately,
terrifying.
he is scared shitless.
He is terrified. He immediately submits. Like it will be done with it. Like he immediately submits. He, like, to have that much of a turn on a dime reaction of like, well, you're all powerful. Like, what the fuck's wrong with you, bro? And then to immediately be like, yes, my God, I'm so sorry. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck did he show him?
Well,
What did he turn into?
and when they zoom in on Callus's face, you can see the seams around his helmet where he's bleeding now. Like blood is coming
What
down
the
his
what the
head
fuck is he doing?
behind the helmet. Really, what this makes me think of is like old school eldritch horror. Like something that
Yeah,
is so, wrong to view
incomprehensible.
that
Yeah,
it deals damage to the viewer. Uh,
yeah.
so
I like
is
that. I
is
like
pretty
that
cool.
idea. It's freaky as shit. Like, they, as much as they have like there's a little bit of humor throughout the campaign. There's a little bit of, but majority of it feels very dire. And then like
Yeah.
this scene feels straight up like what you said, eldritch horror. Like very very Bungie's firing on all cylinders here to hit that horror beat there for a second.
Yeah. Um, so we get into mission number 6. Callus is being forced to change up his strategy, and so he shifts his attention back to the Cloud Arc once more. Um, and this time he succeeded in bringing down the Neomunia defense systems. Nimbus says the defenses are reading as offline. Uh, and this has opened up a security hole for the Vex, and the VexNet now has access to the Cloud Arc because, the firewall is down.
I was going to say the firewall's been shut off.
uh, and so the Vex are now also very interested in getting access to the Cloud Arc and, therefore the Veil. So we are in the Vex network for a good portion of this mission. And within the Vex network, we are fighting Taken.
That
Because,
threw me off.
yeah, so the Taken are explained to be there because Callus and or the witness has identified the Vex have a back door into this system. We're going to go send our forces that way. And if the Taken can do a hop from VexNet to Cloud Arc, they can also do the hop from Cloud Arc to Veil.
Yep.
So we're fighting Taken through the Vex network and Vex. And we get some dialogues. during this mission, which I think is the strike technically.
Yes. Where you ride there's a sparrow section in
Yep.
it.
Yep.
Yep.
So in this mission, and I don't know if these are unintelligible if you don't have the correct item equipped.
They are unintelligible
They
if you don't have the.
are.
Oh no! Wait, no wait.
Oh.
I think in there, I think it is. I think you can hear it because that's where I made the connection of holy shit, Myth was right, and thank God they didn't do what I thought they were going to do.
Okay, so I whether they're intelligible or not, these are whispers that we hear from a at the moment unnamed source, and they say in those whispers, um, well now. Oh, I have the one for the lost sectors, but apparently I don't have this one. It
How
more or less
how dare you?
more
How
or less
dare
is
you?
along the lines. I know. So many notes. I missed one.
I know this was a lot of info to take in.
But it's more or less along the lines of this entity saying like, oh, this is such a realm of possibility. Like I can now access this place of consciousness, and how it will be very sustaining food, more or less. Um, and even Ghost, I think at that point is like, what was that? Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Uh, at which point they're like, yes, but ignore it because Taken are there and we know they're bad. We'll figure out that mystery later.
One bad guy at a time, please.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so we fight our way through. We end up taking out the Taken. I believe it's a Taken Hydra. That's the
It
final
is.
boss.
Yep. Very very Quaria looking.
Yep. Which would make sense. Taken Hydra to bridge the path between two
Yep.
networks. We are successful in defeating them, and Nimbus confirms that defenses have now been restored after the defeat of the Taken. However, we still get a few more dialogues from this voice who identifies themselves as I am pain, I am fear, I am Nezarek.
Boom, mic drop.
And
I was
Nezarek,
so happy. I was when he said Nezarek, I was like,
yeah.
thank fucking God. Which then just made me like connect 1,000 other pieces of information. It was like, okay, he's got to be the raid boss. This is what
I
they're
think it's
probably gonna
pretty
deal with in the
likely,
raid.
yeah.
Like the fact that like now the Quicksilver gun, the I am becoming one again. I think he was kicked out of paradise. I don't think he left of his own accord. Like I think the witness like disintegrated him, like separated his mind from his body and trapped it somewhere, and he wants out. And using this network and to feed off this network is what's going that. Or he could be the ultimate source of power, like the fact that his body still housed darkness in it, and Mithrak's mom went and chopped it up and was like, hey, let's use his finger for blowing shit up, like let's go. Which nope, don't go there, Nick. Don't go there. uh, so yeah, there's so many questions here, but so many data points that connect there that I'm so glad that they didn't just like Mithrax boiling all the bits down and making darkness tea for Osiris was like, okay,
Yeah.
there you go. That's the end of Nezarek. Now we have more to it, and I'm super, super excited because I'm 99% sure now that Nezarek is going to be like the final boss of the raid, or he's going to play a huge part in the raid. It's going to be like we're going to try to shut him down or stop him from escaping or something like that. I don't know. I feel like he's going to be a very, very, very big part of the raid now.
Yeah, no, I think he is absolutely. I'm on the same train. I think there's no way he isn't the raid boss. Just like the too many things line up for it not to be. But so Nezarek identifies themselves as I am pain, I am fear. He has been identified on other objects, such as Nezarek's sin, as being the god of pain and nightmare. And I think, based on his dialogues, he literally feeds on, similar, I guess, to how an Ahamkara feeds on desire. I think Nezarek feeds on fear.
Could
Uh,
he possibly be the equal and opposite of an Ahamkara?
I don't know if desire is the opposite of fear.
Sure.
Um, so, but seems to be similar, at least as to how he gains power, is through, you know, feeding off people's psychological pain and fear. And the other bit that he says in this is he says that he needs to gain power to escape his prison of in between. So
That's where I think he's trapped. I think
I think,
his
yes.
his consciousness has been separated and it's been trapped, and he wants out.
And what better source of sustenance for a fear feeding God than an entire system of connected consciousnesses that he can give nightmares to and just drink it all up.
Feed all day long. Yeah.
So,
And that's like that to me also says a lot more too, because like we know that the nightmares of the pyramid on the moon were almost like a defense.
yeah,
But I'm starting to think that they're less of a defense and more of a trap.
I think, yeah, I think they're just remnants of his power. I think
I
that
think
was his
so.
ability, was he would show someone their worst fear and then it literally
Feed
made
off of
him
it.
more powerful to do
Yep.
that.
Yep. So I'm starting to think that the and then of course Cal is trying to access that ability and use it. So I think this is possibly another darkness ability. It could possibly be like the nightmares themselves, like to be able to do that nightmare thing could be of a higher being, like an Ahamkara style being where it feeds off of
Maybe.
that. Like it could be a darkness ability. Like I don't know. I'm starting to lean more towards the nightmares very much center around the moon pyramid, and that specific ship was Nezarek's because that's where his glaive was found, the Nezarek Whisper. We know that glaives were given to disciples of the Witness, so maybe he's the last of his kind. He could be like the last uh, nightmare Ahamkara. I don't know what to call him other than that. And that he was just that powerful that he could have possibly started feeding off of the Witness himself. And so then the Witness was like, separate, boom, and separates his mind from his body and locks him away. And it's like, this is too goddamn powerful. Can't have that shit running around, and then just abandons it. Like, let's
Yeah.
just forget about it. Because that to me is like the easiest way to make something go away is just completely abandon it and have no reference of it at all. And I mean, you see that throughout historical things of like, well, if nobody can ever remember this and nobody can ever think of it, it can never be a harm to anyone ever again. So let's just pretend like it never existed, like it wasn't there in the first place.
Yeah.
So like that, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of data points here that like I could be squirreled on, and yeah, it's exciting.
It
I'm
is
so glad that
exciting.
they did, and
And
the unintelligible whispers. I'm glad that you brought that up,
yes.
because later on in some of the other story missions, and my wife and I found this out. Uh, if you have any part of Nezarek's equipped, so if you have the helm or if you have
The glaive.
the glaive, or I think even the Eververse um, chest piece.
Oh, yeah.
I think if you have any one of those three equipped, instead of seeing at the bottom of your screen with subtitles that says unintelligible whispers, he'll talk to you. You can hear it. Like, he has an actual voice, and there's actual dialogue there, which of course now I have to go look up, or of course Myth has already gone and looked it up. Well, Myth didn't have to look it up because guess who's a void warlock that never takes Nezarek's sin off? So he thought it was just like, hey, he's just talking, cool. And then come to find out, hey, this is a little Easter egg. Like, if you have this stuff on, you get to hear him. If you don't, you just don't even know what he's saying.
Yeah. So, there isn't enough info to do a whole Nezarek episode, so I'm just going to do a little Nezarek deep dive here. Not necessarily about his history or anything, but just what we learn in Lightfall, and specifically what those extra whispers are. So, as you're progressing through, you know what? these are actually related to a post-campaign quest. So we're gonna
So
save
we'll
it
save them.
for that post-campaign
Yeah,
quest.
we'll either save it for that, or we'll save it for the raid episode that we're gonna do,
Yeah, yeah,
uh, and maybe we'll get more dialogue and more info.
maybe so. But so regardless, after this point though, after you finish this mission and Nezarek has spoken to you, if you go around and talk to the little patrol beacons, which are like are different people, or their avatars, um, every now and then one of the patrols will mention like, yeah, we're getting weird distortion in the Cloud Arc, and a lot of people are reporting having these nightmares and being spoken to in their dreams, and
Yep.
you know, it like he's infecting the system like
He
actively.
absolutely is. This is no longer a like, hey, maybe it's here, maybe it's not. He is actively attacking the system.
Yes, and feeding to become more powerful.
I am becoming whole again. I'm so excited. So excited.
So, moving on to the next mission. There's really not much to talk about here. The next mission is a Strand training montage. That is what it is.
It's fuck. This was the mission that finally, because there's a little cutscene that goes, I think, before it or after it. I don't remember which, but there's a little cutscene of Osiris and Ghost and you, and you're like sitting there training, and it is literally like an 80s B movie training montage. Like, I totally expected to just be like, are we just gonna start here like it's the final countdown? Like I thought like it was just gonna be full, and like that right there, like that specific scene was like made me think like this entire Lightfall thing, like that gave me the full 80s vibe of like
Yeah.
that's what Lightfall is. It's just this huge 80s vibe of like this perfect light future, like we Tron and inside video games and stuff like that like put it all together for me.
Yeah, no, it was pretty great for what it was. There's nothing story relevant other than we learned how to use Strand. Was really all it came down to.
We finally
But
master it.
it was
Still don't get access to it till the end of the campaign, but we do
No.
finally get like where we can use it freely and it doesn't like kill us, because throughout that training montage,
Yeah.
it kills us several times.
Yep.
And Ghost and Osiris look at each other and they just shake their heads and they're like, "No, this guy sucks." Very 80s B movie training montage. I loved it. Absolutely loved that scene.
So that puts us right into mission number 8. I believe it's 8. The penultimate mission, the one before the final mission.
Okay.
So, or no, this is excuse me, this is the final one. So, we are now, we're as prepared as we think we're going to be, and we know Callus is gathering to attack the Veil Vault.
All hands on deck. All Shadow Legion.
Yep.
All everything. Attack the vault.
Yeah, he's growing desperate. He has nothing else really to do. He's tried all the other avenues, and now it's just brute force, break down the door. So we gather our defenses at the Veil containment facility. We find that, we take out some AA guns to allow Keitel to bring in her forces, and we learn that Nimbus has brought online a Ishtar orbital laser.
It's a fucking ion cannon. It's so awesome. He's like, paint the target. And I was like, I understand this.
So yeah, you pick up a little scope and you laser a target for a couple seconds, and this giant laser beam comes down and just obliterates it.
I blew up a tank. I blew up the moon.
which really, really cool, awesome scene, awesome like little action piece to play. However, there's a little inconsistency in the narrative there, because if they have an orbital defense station that is in Neptune's orbit, why did no one ever see that when they were searching Neptune for Osiris's?
But somebody did. Elsie Bray went there and found a giant handprint on it.
Was that above Neptune?
I think that was above Neptune. I'm 99% sure that one was above Neptune. That's where she found the Quicksilver gun. That's where she found the ghost with the Quicksilver on it. So I don't think it's like that far out of possibility that that the Cloud Strider didn't just go up there and be like, "Hey, I need this for ion cannon. Let's make this work." I think that was an active defense thing above Neptune.
Very possible. Let me find. Was that in Quicksilver?
I don't remember if it was in the Quicksilver Storm because
No,
I
I
don't
think it
remember
was in
where
the Ghost. I think it was in the
the
Ghost
ghost shell
shell.
itself, Toki. But I don't remember the name of the ghost shell though.
Yeah, I don't either off the top of my head.
I know it was last season's. It was one of the one. Was it from last season, or is it one of the ones you get from
You
the
get it from
collectors?
the Lightfall pre-order.
Oh, okay. So that would be possibly season
I think it was
18.
Plunder, maybe,
That
that
might be
those
right.
became available.
That might be right. I'm trying to like sort through items here
I
in my
know.
collections and like find it real quick. Let's see. Under equipment, go to ghost shells. 18. Yep. Speed metal shell
Speed
is
metal.
the
Okay. I was
is
searching
the one.
Speedster, and that wasn't right.
Missed a
Speed
speck of
metal.
a station on the way to Pluto. So it doesn't specifically say
Okay.
that it's above, but if it's a speck of a station on the way to Pluto, I mean Neptune is literally the last thing before Pluto. Right? Does it go Neptune Uranus or is it Uranus Neptune?
Uranus is between Neptune and Saturn. So
So yeah, so it is then Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. So yeah. Or not Pluto because
right.
fuck you, NASA. So yeah, I
So
think
yeah.
this thing is stationed above Neptune. I think that is the orbital station. Considering, like I said, she finds a giant handprint in there. She finds the ghost shell. She finds or she finds the ghost, rather Toki. She finds the Quicksilver gun. Like everything about this says that it's there. She finds the puka there. Like
Yep.
I mean, that's everything about this station is to me says it's the orbital station above Neptune.
Yeah.
Like
No.
this is the ion cannon station.
I. That's canon for me. I think that makes perfect sense. So
Boom! I did it. I
that's
made a
great.
connection. That's twice in an episode, Myth.
There you go. You're on a roll.
I'm getting scared here, man. Like,
So yeah, this Ishtar weapon though comes in handy for us taking out tanks and such. And we're pushing back Callus's forces. We're successfully defending. Keitel is with us. She has landed with some of her forces. They're doing battle as well.
she definitely has a stake in this battle. Like she
Yeah.
wants her father dead.
Say things are looking like we're going to succeed, and then a giant I don't want to say void because that has certain connotations, but a giant like the purple callus head from Leviathan shows up and essentially says, "Nah, we're getting in," and does some kind of blast attack that breaks the door down to the vault of the Veil.
I do like hesitating to call it void because again that's
Right,
like same idea with the tormentors. Like where are they getting this void power from? If these things are supposed to be darkness, why do they have access to the light? Where are they getting this light void? Again, it's always void. So there's that like one little possibility that okay,
right.
they smuggled it out of the throne world. Like, cause there's no way that Savathun. Now, again, Savathun is very savvy. She's very deceptive. She could have had an eye on everything, but maybe not. Like it's an unknown. Like there's an iffy point there.
Well, and it could have been looted after she was out of the picture too.
That's true. Because once she was out and Amaru was out, like we don't know where Amaru's gone off to. Like we have no inkling at all where he's at. We know he's still alive, presumably still alive. I don't think he was like absorbed back into the Traveler.
No, as far as we know, he's still out there. Like they've taken very specific measures with how they're storing her remains to try and prevent him.
Yep, they scraped the entire area of all DNA of her to where he can't like pick up even just like the singlest thread of her and res her from that, because that's all they need apparently is just a single strain of DNA and they can res the entire Guardian. So yeah, like the hidden and everything have done very much like kept her basically in stasis, because it's better to have her there and know where she's at rather than her just floating around doing whatever she's trying to do and not have eyes on her. So yeah, presumably Amaru is still out there plotting Dreadlord Amaro stuff.
Yeah. Uh, so Callus breaks down the door, and we are now like, okay, we need to get in there and get to the veil before he does. We need to set up defenses and try and prevent him from getting to it. Now, what's interesting, we access this vault of sorts, and it becomes very clear very quickly. And I think this was mentioned before this, but if you didn't pick up on it, now you knew. This was a Ishtar collective colony.
Yep.
The facility, the vault facility, is Ishtar collective everywhere, but it's derelict. It doesn't look like any, and not just necessarily like people haven't been in it since lockdown happened. I don't think people have been in it, period, in a very long
For
time.
centuries.
And what kind of backs that up is as you're progressing through the facility, Nimbus says, according to Neomuni lore, the veil is deep, deep underground. He's speaking of it as like a myth,
Yep.
which implies no one has even seen the veil in recent history.
I would agree with that assessment.
So we're continuing to go down, and eventually you end up on a kind of glass bottom platform where you can finally see the top of the veil. And Ghost says that they're feeling very strange when you find the veil and you're looking at it, and they specifically say it's a feeling similar to the Traveler, but they can't elaborate on it any more than that.
Yeah, like it. I mean, similar, but not quite. So
Right,
maybe not
similar
of the light,
but
maybe
different.
of the darkness. I don't know, man.
The veil itself, to me, it looks like a jellyfish.
It
Like
does.
the top of it looks like a jellyfish is what we're seeing.
Absolutely, this like goobly gook, clear, kind of like transparent, not quite clear, but very transparent purple, efflorescent, neonish. Like it's very much like a deep sea jellyfish is what it looks like to me.
Yeah. So, but we're only at the top of it. And so we have to keep going down to get to where there's access to the veil. We're just kind of in like an observation deck. And so we're keep going down through the facility, and we stumble upon an ancient Cloud Arc prototype in this vault, very
Like
close to the
chair
veil.
and console looking thing.
Yeah, it looks like where someone would sit down and kind of like strap themselves into a VR headset type thing.
Yep. Like a whole VR console, though, like not even just a headset, like a full immersive 3D surrounding themselves in this thing.
So the Cloud Arc is very much a system that seems to have come from the Ishtar Collective. They and that is something that well, I guess that'll be a question for later. But the Cloud Arc is something that they built around the veil, not necessarily they didn't build it and then find the veil to power it, kind of thing.
Yep. That's definitely the way it seems, and especially like the further and further down inside this facility that you go, and you find like almost like evolution models of this thing. Like you find the first one, it's very crude, and you get further down, and like now they're like really like almost like an at home kit looking style pod, and like the more and more you get down, like you're seeing this evolution of it. So it definitely seems like they found the veil there, and then was like, hey, this is an immense source of power. It can do anything. Let's utilize it, and then went from there.
Yeah. So we continue further down until we reach the base of the veil, this platform, and you can look up into kind of the bottom of that swirling jellyfish thing. But growing out of it around the sides of the room are what look like roots almost.
Yeah.
like
Like
tree roots.
very, very much like that tree of silver ring roots, or I guess there's any type of tree roots,
Yeah.
giving it more of that like jellyfish appearance too, having like the jellyfish legs on the bottom.
Yeah, but they are they're kind of white with some of that kind of purple translucence around them. Very very interesting. It feels like you've dug under the base of a tree kind of thing.
Yep.
But lo and behold, Callus has beat us here because he apparently just had like a drill or something and tunneled straight down rather than
Not
hop
not real
through the
sure how he
facility.
hopped through faster than us because we were booking it through that facility.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
they do mention at one point there's a bunch of crashes you hear and whatnot. And Nimbus says, Callus is drilling straight down into the room or whatever.
Using his giant purple head beam.
I mean, maybe.
Very, very
Uh,
80s, like, ha ha ha.
but so this is where we have our final showdown with the campaign boss, which is Callus.
God damn, that was a hard fight.
It wasn't, yeah, not an easy one by any means. Um, but as far as the lore significant bits of that fight, not a whole lot outside of he is very much using resonant power
Yep,
to create the
constantly.
weapons he's using.
Create the weapons, create the shielding that he's using,
Yep.
summon in more enemies. He has full control over resonance. Like it definitely doesn't seem like it has like one specific thing that it's doing.
Yeah.
It is a multitude of things. It's just like us as guardians using our light powers. Like arc doesn't just give you arc souls. Like you can use it with slam attacks. You can use it with a twirly stick to deflect all of enemy attacks in PvP because you're a dick. It's not like Void where it's like you just have Nova Bomb or Nova Warp or a bubble or something like that. Like it has multiple facets of it, so it
Yep.
definitely seems like it is a multi-part power.
Yeah.
That he can do pretty much anything he wants with it.
Yeah, so he's dropped these little shield nodes. He can shoot bees at you like Caretaker.
Yep.
He has this like Gatling gun that he just apparates out of thin air that's made of this resonant energy.
That also shoots nonstop Gatling gun bees at you.
Yep, yep.
Shit fucking hurts, man.
He eventually you get into phase 2 and he splits the gun. Like I didn't watch him do it. I was too busy running away.
I watched him several times doing it. He literally like holds the gun up like like I don't know how to describe it, but he literally like it kind of elongates into like a almost like a guillotine looking sword,
yeah.
a falling guillotine, and then he literally pulls it apart and he's got two glaives there.
Yeah.
He's also using this stuff to do beam attacks with. Like this stuff is all powerful.
Yeah. It hurts. It hurts a lot.
It fucking hurts a lot.
But
seems to have augmented his speed as well. Like,
yep. He essentially goes from, and this was interesting. He goes from the Emperor, using all of his new power and trying to beat us, to us prevailing over that, and then technically his weapons are still from Resonant, but he's reverted to like a Cabal gladiator now.
Yeah. I thought the significance of that was really important too. Like to see this almighty, all powerful emperor to kind of being reduced down to like the basis of like the basic Cabal figure of this gladiator arena. Because even that arena that you fight in, like the veil kind of like closes in around you and it like shuts off part of the arena. So now you really are in an arena with like no cover, no like. He's summoning in scions every once in a while, but they're just kind of mad. They're more of an annoyance than anything at that point in time. But he is the true threat. He is this dual wielding gladiator, no helmet, no armor, like fist on chest, like let's go. Like it was very. And I think even his title changes there too, because I think in the first one he is like Callus the Emperor, blah 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 blah. But then in that second phase, his name changes to Callus the Disciple. Like it's I don't know. It's like an evolution and a de-evolution at the same time. It's very primal fight. It's fucking hard as shit. Like it was it was a very very good scene there.
Yeah, and from a from his history, Callus as emperor was always trying to do away with the old militaristic ways. He was trying to do
Yep.
away with the rights approving and get rid of the warmongering, and replace it with opulence and celebration. And for his final stand to be kind of a return to that warmongering, cabal get in there and cleave you in two with their own bare hands kind of thing, was an interesting kind of character reversal, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but regardless, we, in some cases, after many hours, stand
Fucking
victorious.
goddamn 10 hours over 2 days, man. That shit sucked.
Yeah. We stand victorious over Callus, and similar to Rulk, he explodes into those kind of dark roots, or
Yep.
yeah, I don't know what else to call them, but like these
Like
darkness
veins, almost
roots.
like a circulatory system pouring
Yeah,
out of it, but very, very root like, very, very much like that idea of like that luster um, that kind of like it like pours out type thing, and like that's the only thing that's holding him together type thing.
yeah, and I think that is representation of the power the witness has instilled into him,
Yep.
and with his death, he's not holding it in anymore. So it's just kind of like, it just expands outwards, uh, and is present that way. And so Keitel comes down to observe, confirm the death of Callus essentially. And Nimbus is also joins us there, and we get a scene where we're under the veil. The roots of the veil, as we said, have kind of grown down around the arena during the second part of that fight. And we're under there, and we've done it. We're victorious, and our ghost starts floating away and starts speaking with the voice of the witness, and is saying like, there, there you are, the final piece. And the witness has possessed our ghost again, and they float up to the veil. And what's interesting is Osiris over the comms is telling us like, you know stop your ghost, stop your ghost, almost as if he knew that the ghost was going to be a danger in this location.
Yeah. He knows
Like,
something. I don't know what he knows, but he knows something.
yeah, I don't know if he's just attributing that to the whole the ghosts are attracted to the veil, or if he knows more than that, but he is
Because
very
it's very
adamant.
like his comms are very staticky. So I'm curious if he like he's watching this feed somewhere and like he's trying to warn, like he sees what's happening and
That's
you as the
possible.
guardian don't, and now he's getting cut off. Now the comms are getting cut off.
Yeah, that's totally possible. But needless to say, the ghost does make contact with the veil and establishes a link between the veil and the witness. And another little note. So, in order to try and prevent this, at one point, Keitel's trying to get us to shoot our ghost, to destroy it before it can do this. And in that scene, our guardian is given the default Kvastov
The
assault
old
rifle.
OG white fucking freshly rezzed guardian. Here's your Kvastov. So presumably we've just been carrying this around for 9 years.
Right.
Like,
That's what we use to kind of scope in on our ghost. And the interesting thing, every time we have seen the witness, it has been through that kind of shattered glass motif. Our Kvastov has a broken sight.
it's like, what does that mean?
And I'm not going to claim to know what that means. It was just a really interesting detail where it's like, there's too much lining up for that not to mean anything.
There is. Like, I don't know what that does. That means that like is the witness partially responsible for rezzing these ghosts? Like, what does that mean?
I know. So, but regardless, we do not shoot our ghost, and they're successful in establishing the link.
Wouldn't that be the revelation of the century, though? Is
That
that
would
the
have been
witness
something.
was actually the one that like helped release the ghost, and then the traveler was just kind of powerless, and so now the traveler's just like, well, I got to do something with all these dead bodies.
Hey, I feel like there's still enough mystery that a revelation like that could come out of this at some
Something.
point. But regardless, we see a beam go from the veil. It goes from, blasts out of the vault, off of Neomuna, all the way to the witness. And now this was something I wasn't sure about. I think, based on the veil being dark, that it was going to the witness. Yeah.
Yep.
However, because of where the witness was located, kind of between Neomuna and the traveler, I also wonder if it was going to the traveler and the witness intentionally intercepted it. I
I don't
could
know.
see it either
It
way.
could. Yeah,
I'm leaning more towards it was meant for the witness because they're
I
of the
think so.
same, kind. But
Since the
but
veil
I don't
seems to be 100%, I'm still 70-30 on it. 70%
know.
sure that it's darkness related, that
Yeah.
it was like an empowering thing for him. And that's the other thing too. Like, is that the pale heart? Is that what was
Right.
stolen away? Like, did Savathun steal the witness's heart, and that's what stopped the collapse? That's what actually saved the collapse, saved the soul system in the first place. And so then the witness had to retreat because he didn't know where this ultimate source of power went. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of like unknowns with it, and like for that to be the final piece, like if the witness gets his hands on it, like that's it. But then for the witness to want to destroy it, or is that like subterfuge to get us to get near it, so that way he could get reconnected with it? Like what? There's so many
That's
like little
that's a
things
very
here.
good possibility. Perhaps he didn't care who got to it first, us or Callus. He just wanted
It's
someone to
all just
do
a
it.
means to the end.
And we've seen him play the trickery card before with Savathun.
Yep.
Get the hive to take the action he wants by spinning a tail of this, god wave.
Yep.
Could be something similar. We're gonna destroy the veil that will kill Neomuna, thus giving us urgency to get there.
But then by us getting near it, now he can go through our ghost and
Right. Right.
channel it and connect it and all that stuff.
So after the scene of the beam leaving, we get the final cutscene of the campaign, and that the witness has accepted this power. The blast doors on the Vanguard ship have opened up now, and they're peering through broken glass at what is happening. And the witness, um, says a line. It's along the lines of like the universe is a cruel place. It makes everyone perpetrator or victim. You have played both. Speaking presumably to the traveler.
Yep.
And the witness is drawing a triangle kind of in the flesh, quote unquote, of the traveler as he's saying this. And as he completes the triangle, it turns from the edges into the middle into this like neon, kind of like oil slick colored portal.
Gobbledygook.
Yeah. It does appear to be a portal of some sort that has been carved into the traveler, and the witness and the pyramid ships around the traveler all get sucked into it and disappear.
I have two at the moment theories on this.
Well, save them for a second.
Okay.
So that's kind of the end of the cutscene. We do have some follow up with Zavala and Ikora afterwards.
Keitel specifically says like we lost. Like
yes, yeah. Keitel in the scene says we lost. Zavala says when he's talking to us that the traveler is gone. He's muses like, should I be thankful it can't resurrect any more of our enemies, which makes me wonder, can new guardians not be resurrected either then?
Oh, that's it. Everyone's got to pay for the game now. No more free game.
uh, that it'd be
Did
terrible. It'd be
did
kind of funny.
did that just like fuck you up? Like when he said it, that was my instant thought. Was like, did Bungie just shut off the game for all new players? Is that did they just can't canonically shut the game off? Is that what's happening here? Like, and nobody can somebody go start a new character right now and see if it actually works? Like, is that a thing? Like, yeah, no, I was very intrigued on that line of
Yeah.
like I understood the whole like you can't res enemies because that's the Traveler res Savathun. It resed a bunch of Lucent hive. So it's like, yeah, but then to like now presumably if it can't res those, it can't res anyone else. But there are still unmatched ghosts. So
Right.
like,
So
because
can the ghost still do that? Like,
right? Because presumably the ghosts have only ever been released once. And
right.
every single ghost that exists in the entirety of the universe has all been released at the exact same time. And it's a finite amount. Like eventually you are just going to run out of ghosts, but presumably there are still tons of unmatched ghosts that are still resing guardians. Like we still have access to light powers, so clearly the connection there wasn't as immediate as what we thought it was. Like with Gaul, where he just like encases it and traps us off from it. So it seems like there can still be new guardians. I don't know. Like it does raise a lot of questions.
There is a dialogue from our ghost. I forget where this came up, but it was something along the lines of them saying like, I can still use the light. We can still use powers, but it feels like I'm pulling it from what did they say? I'm pulling it from a well instead of a spring, something like that.
Yep. I think that's a lot of the post campaign stuff where like you're going around doing missions or even like the lost sectors are exploring Neomuna. Ghost himself is like really confused at this feeling like it doesn't feel as infinite as it did before.
Yeah, so he can use the light, but it not as easily for sure. When we go and talk to Ikora, she mentions ghosts have said that they cannot feel the presence of the Traveler anymore. Just kind of reconfirming that it's dead, question mark.
Because it's still there. Like
right.
It's still floating above Earth.
Yeah, it's got a hole in it.
Presumably dead, yeah.
And she also says that all attempts to send probes through the portal in the Traveler have failed. The probe either wasn't able to enter the portal or was immediately destroyed upon entry. And so they're not gonna go put a person through it anytime soon.
What would be hilarious is if all the probes actually are making it to the other side and they're just stacking up on the other side of the portal and the witness is just sitting on the other side like, God damn it, stop sending shit through. It doesn't work, just cut it out.
I don't want your garbage. God damn it.
I don't need this shit. Like, stop it.
So the final kind of conversation we can have about this is with Osiris. And Osiris says that the witness used the veil to cause a convergence of primal light and dark energy to make a portal. Now, the only other time that we have seen
now I have a
light and dark combine to create a portal was the creation of the Distributary.
Yep. A pocket universe inside a universe. Now I have another theory.
Has the witness created another universe that they're now going to for something? Are they trying to get to the Distributary itself, or like, I don't know. There's some correlation there, though.
It's the opposite direction. I think he opened a portal to get out of this universe
and go to the quote unquote parent universe.
Yeah, to go to where they were, to where the Gardener and the Winnower were creating these universes, because he got drawn in because he had to. He never wanted to be here in the first place.
That's very true.
That's one of my theories, is that this portal leads outside our universe to the parent. It goes the opposite way. It goes up a level. And now he's able to get out, and he doesn't have to live in this, what he would think of as hell.
Right.
This resurrection hell of like, no, this paracausality isn't supposed to exist. Like you, the Gardener, did that because you're bored. Like, stop being a bored child and just play by the rules of the game. Like, Yeah, that's one of my theories is that he went the opposite direction. Like all of this portal leads directly out of our universe into the overarching parent universe where the garden game was happening, the flower game was happening, and now he has, I presumably the only one there, and now he's escaped his hell. I don't know. Like that
Well,
feels like what it could
and
be.
if he's, I like this train of thought because the same Savathun had the same motivation. The
Yep.
Ahamkara have the same
Get the hell
motivation.
out of this universe. They
Uh,
those entities know they're in a video game and they want to escape the video. They want to be fit. They want to be real. They want to escape.
yep. And so like yeah, if he went up a level to the garden, the garden of creation, let's say, and he's the only one there, that also means there's now no one to stop him from correcting the
Yep.
mistake that was made with this universe.
From bringing about the final shape.
Yes. Yeah,
Holy shit. Holy
I think that's
shit.
got legs.
Holy shit. That's 3 in an episode, man. I don't know what to do anymore. What do I do with my hands? I don't know what to do. It's too powerful. I don't want this ability.
So
yeah, that was one of my theories. My other theory was like he actually
yeah.
went inside the Traveler, like the portal just leads inside the Traveler, and so now like the inside of the Traveler is stacking up with all these probes and shit. But I don't know. I feel like the more I think about it, the more I think that idea of like him going to like the parent universe to escape this, because now
Yeah.
with like what you said with the distributary, like, oh, pocket universe. Well, who's to say that portal doesn't work both ways? Who's to say I can't
Yeah.
use that portal to go the opposite direction?
No, absolutely.
Like, I really like that theory of this is the second time in all of Destiny universe that light and dark have directly, the powers themselves have directly touched each other and interacted and done something, and both times it has opened a portal, one being to a pocket universe that Mara creates, the other being this, which I think is the parent universe.
Yeah. No, I like that theory. I'm gonna headcanon that until we hear otherwise.
I'm getting good at this, man. I'm feeling
Yeah.
really good.
Good. You should.
I'm learning.
Another little dialogue, not directly related, but post campaign comes to us from Nimbus, who says the veil is safe, which presumably means linking it, whatever that didn't destroy it or make it lose power. So
to me, that leans credit towards the subterfuge.
Yeah.
Like
no,
the
I
witness
think
never
so.
wanted to destroy it anyway. He just wanted everyone to focus on it so something could get there, presumably something being the ghost and the guardian, and now he's got a conduit. Now he can connect it. Now he can get his power back. Now he can get to the parent universe.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
It's all these little data points, right? Like none of these points by themselves look like anything. It's like, oh, he just wanted to destroy the veil. Cool. Sucks to suck.
Yeah.
Oh, Savathun stole the veil, and that's how Neomuna got his power. Whatever. Like all of these little points are starting to like connect and be like, okay, well, Savathun had to do this to keep humanity around, to stop the witness from getting out of the universe. Now the witness is back, and now he doesn't know where Neomuna is, but now he does kind of know where it is because the witness shot the beam and it kind of opened his eyes. Like all these little things are starting to make sense now. All these little connection points are starting to connect and be like, this, I think, is the ultimate thing happening here.
Yeah. No, I think so as well. So that's the completion of the campaign. Now there is some post campaign. I guess, do we want to dig into that now, or do we want to do?
We may need to save that for the next episode because this one's starting to run a little long.
Yeah, I think we'll do post campaign and Neomuna history as one episode. And that'll be the next one. I know originally we were going to do a seasonal episode as our next one, but I feel like this is going to have a lot more information available to us right now, and the season seems to boil down to just defend Earth. There's not a whole lot of nuance going on.
And that feels very accurate too. Like everything's right above our world, everything's right here at our doorstep. Just try to hold the line. Like that just seems to be the deal. Like the fact that it's season of defiance, like we are trying to defy what is happening around us. Like just hold the line, hold off, see if we can gather some type of plan, strategy, forces, whatever, and do it to it. Yeah, I mean, I am excited to talk about the post campaign stuff and the entire Hall of Heroes and the Cloud Striders and the history of Neomuna. But I think you're right. I think that like we're already running a little long on this one, and I think all of that would be a good combining thing for our next episode.
Before we wrap up the episode, I did tease before we started recording that there is a character that returns.
I was going to say I didn't catch this through any of this. Who the hell is this guy?
So, well, you didn't catch it because we didn't talk about it in the main campaign stuff. It is someone that is very near and dear to you and many others, that you can very briefly see in the partition mission, which is post campaign technically.
Okay.
The partition mission takes place inside one of the Vex network areas.
Okay.
And you can, during certain areas, if you're real quick, it's only a couple seconds, you can see the digital avatar of Asher Mir in the Vex network.
Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here.
Additionally,
you have no idea. That means something. That actively means something.
Yes. So additionally, on the Sparrow, which is part of the season pass called the Inside Line Sparrow, which the flavor text is read inside the lines. It is a little story of two boys that live on Neomuna that talk to each other using an old radio relay. And they're trying to talk to each other, and they're just little kids. They're like, their discussions are, man, my parents are boring. What are you going to do this weekend?
Bro.
That kind of thing. And they're having their normal radio discussion, walkie-talkie, but there's static, and there's almost never static. Like they're the only ones that use this old antiquated thing to communicate. And the static in the lore card reads out as Morse code. And you translate...
Is it fucking assistant?
If you translate the Morse code, it translates to still alive inside network, idiot kids.
Yeah! Let's go, Asher Mir! Oh, man. He is my favorite asshole. I love him. He is like my spirit animal. Let's go. I'm gonna go have to watch some YouTube videos and find this because that is awesome. I love Asher Mir. The first thing he does is shoot the damn thing. Yeah, I love Asher Mir. He is literally my favorite. I was so sad to see him go, but the fact that they're calling out to him, I think we're gonna see Asher Mir in a season.
I think we're
down the road,
absolutely gonna see.
I think that's a thing then. He's going to be a key focal point, whether he's on one side of the Vex network or he finally breaks out and we help whatever. We're going to see Asher Mir again. That's a definite.
Yeah, I think so. So
God, that's awesome.
There's that.
Brother Vance can stay trapped in there. I don't care. Asher Mir, let's go.
So, but with that, I think we're gonna conclude our Lightfall launch episode, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's kind of the main story beats and our thoughts on the information that's presented to us in the story and our theories around it. And you can take that as you will.
Yeah. Well, I think we only have one shout out.
We do have one shout out and then one milestone.
I'm excited about this milestone.
So the first shout out is from Apple Podcasts. It comes to us from Blueberry Sky, who left a review that says, I am new to Destiny. I just started playing this last fall, so I don't know much about the game or the lore. This podcast has helped me understand things about the game that I was confused about. I love to listen while I'm working. It makes the day go by faster. This podcast is perfect for anyone that has an interest in learning more about Destiny. Can't wait for the next episode.
I love it. Blueberry Sky, the blueberry.
Yeah.
That is awesome. I'm super happy that somebody's actually able to take what we've put and follow it coherently and be like, okay, this is starting to make sense. Now I understand why I'm going after this enemy. Now I understand why I'm attacking this force. Like, I love that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, I'm very glad that like I think we said last episode, one of our goals has always been to make it more understandable, more digestible for people that are newer and not as experienced with the characters in the world. And the fact that we were able to do that for you is awesome.
Absolutely.
So the milestone, though,
I'm so excited.
so as of the time of this recording, which is March 3rd, we have in our fervor to play the Witch Queen campaign and really dive into it. Technically, we missed it by a little bit because we were at 101.7 thousand all-time downloads.
Holy shit.
Which is a number I did not think would ever exist for our little...
We were excited if we were going to hit 50K by the end of December, and by the time we hit the end of December, we were like 75, 80K, and we were just like, well, shit, 100K is like right around the corner, and here it is.
Yeah,
fucking A, right? Let's go.
Yeah, so that is phenomenal. Thank you to everybody that enjoys our particular brand of crazy. We like doing it. You like listening. We're gonna keep it going.
We are, and to also kind of piggyback off that, continue doing it. I know this episode kind of like interrupted our Braytech series. We are going to still continue that.
Yes,
it's just that the Lightfall stuff was so awesome and so amazing. We felt we've got to put this info out there first. Like we've got to make all these connections and get all this info out there. So we are going to continue on with that Braytech series. Tentative planning right now. Next week, we're going to hopefully cover the post-campaign and the history of Neomuna. We're going to be recording that the day that the raid goes live. So then obviously we'll be able to go into the raid and all that stuff. So then our episode after that will be our lore of the raid and more Lightfall stuff. So you got about 3 weeks worth of Neomuna stuff, Lightfall stuff, and then we're gonna kind of go back to our back to your regularly scheduled program of the Braytex and finishing out Rasputin and Siva and the Iron Lords and all that stuff.
Yep. So that's the plan going forward. If as a general statement, if you liked what you heard, we always enjoy and are thankful for getting ratings on your platform of choice. If you feel strongly enough to leave a text review or want to reach out and send us a comment via Twitter, which is @mythsandstories, spelled the same as the show. We monitor that from time to time and pull shout outs from there, so you may hear yourself on a future episode.
Awesome. All right. Well, I don't know that I have any thanks this episode. I'm going to thank Asher Mir. Thanks for keeping it going on the other side, buddy. We'll see you soon. Keep it alive and keep it going. Idiot kids. Idiot assistant. All righty. Well, you got anything else, Myth?
That's it.
All righty. Well, then from all of us lore daddies to all of you guardians out there, we'll see you next time.